Hey guys, welcome to Miles on the Merrimack. I'm Captain Chris, here with
Dan Diodati.
And today we're joined by our good friend, Captain
Brian Coombs.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, happy to have you up here, man. Thanks for making the trip.
Yeah. I think this podcast's great. Been listening to it for a while, and you know, I've known Chris for a while, and I'm glad you guys invited me up. You know.
Well, man, there's nobody else who wanted to come up. You know, we just spent the weekend with you over at Rissa.
It was a good time.
Yeah, Greg put on a good show, man.
It was a good time, good show. You know, got to see a lot of people, got to see some products. You know, talk to a lot of people. It's always good to just interact with everybody, you know, especially after a long winter. You know?
Yeah, definitely. I honestly think that my favorite part of the whole weekend was the seafood tower at Fleming's.
We had two seafood towers.
Two, no, one, two.
Yeah, but
that was
three.
Appetizer.
That was a good meal, man.
Listen, you know, you gotta live, man. You can't take it with you.
Well, that's the thing we talked about as we huffed and puffed walking up on the third floor here.
Yes.
The great thing about fishing is it's a sport even fat guys can be good at.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So, yeah, Greg Vespi and the Rhode Island Saltwater Association did a great job putting together a show. Me and Dan stopped in and got to see your spiel, your little talk.
A few seminars.
Yeah, did you do the same one all 3 days, or did you change any up?
I did the same seminar 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
I like to give a good seminar. I usually change it up every show. I never try to do the same seminar twice. Although there is a lot of subject matter that obviously overlaps a lot of time. I'm going to be doing the Mohegan show coming up in 2 weeks. I think I'm doing a ground fish, flounder / haddock seminar. And I'm also doing false albacore seminar. So,
nice.
Getting out of the whole... I do bass, but I also do other things too.
I can relate to that.
And the Albie stuff is just like I could talk about that shit all day.
Well, see, people up here don't get it. They bust my balls, man. I'm like, you guys don't understand when you go Albie fishing.
Yeah,
it's one of the greatest.
Yeah,
definitely.
I remember, what was the first time you went? Was it 3 years ago?
It was 3 years. So is it going on 4 years maybe?
Yeah, maybe 4 years ago was your first time going down there.
Yep.
And what were you expecting on the way down there? I know I was hyping it up. I was hoping I didn't overhype it.
No, you didn't overhype it. I did a lot of reading, and I did a lot of research, and I watched some YouTube videos, and I was like, wow, these little buggers can fight. I was happy that I took your advice though, and went light, Stratic 5K.
Go as light as you can get.
And then I got a rod specifically for Albies. I ended up getting the Black Hole Suzuki Special, the ultralight one, the 8-footer.
Yeah.
And that rod is awesome. It can chuck like a 3/8 epoxy jig a friggin' mile.
Yeah.
And it was it's amazing.
Albie season, it's one of those things that I try to tell everyone, go as light as you can, because some days you get out there and when the Albie fishing is good is typically when it's as shitty as you want to fish in.
Yeah.
So you need to have a setup that you can throw a really, really small, presentation super far in any condition.
Yeah, but you still need the backbone to fight a fish that has a lot of fight,
Yeah.
So
they burn themselves out though after a few runs.
They do. I had one that was like an absolute demon fish, but I was fishing with it. I was fishing with it.
They all have a different attitude to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Such a cool fish to target.
Yeah, I was down to like an 8-pound leader because I wasn't hooking anything. I'm like going smaller with the leader.
Yeah, and that was a really bright, clear day too. I remember it was finicky.
So I last year I never downsized leader once. I fished. I started fishing a different type of leader. I fished Seagar. Seagar came out with that gold label stuff.
The gold,
I fished Gold 20.
Yeah, Gold 20, huh?
Gold 20, dude. And I found that because the Gold 20 has the diameter of 14, but you can catch. Not only can you catch a bunch of fish on it without breaking your leader or fatiguing the leader, but you snap off way less jigs. And with Albie fishing, like guiding for Albies, I some days I snap off 6 to 10 jigs.
It's crazy how easy they pop
$10
off.
a piece.
Yeah,
and going to the gold label, like a roll of gold is twice as expensive as like Premier.
Mm-hmm.
But I lose $100 less jigs a day.
Yeah.
So it pay, like I'm a huge advocate for the gold label for Albie fishing. I don't like it so much for bass fishing, but the Albie fishing it definitely works really well. But I found with that, rather than like downsizing the leader as much this past year, I got super keyed into like what they were feeding on for the day, and then associating colors with each bait. And then once I kind of figured that out, everything this year really clicked for me, to the fact that there was very few trips that I didn't get double digits this year. And I ran every day, some days 2 trips a day, where every trip you're catching at least 12 fish.
Yeah, that's amazing. Considering like you can see a ton of them, but the hookup ratio most is.
I had one day, I think we did 42 in a trip.
Wow.
And that's a dude, Albie fishing.
That's incredible.
That's a lot of fight time, man.
But like, and there was other guys I know that were in the same feeds. They were in the same feeds, and they didn't have their color dialed in.
Yep.
And like, it made a huge difference. So to the point where like I've chucked a buddy the same color, and they just catch every fish on it until they lose it.
Interesting point. That day I fished down there with you when I was with my parents. Thank you for that, by the way.
No problem.
We usually go down to West Dartmouth, and for that West Dennis, excuse me, and one of our cousins got married.
South Yarmouth, but yeah.
Oh, Mike's house is in West Dennis, or something like that. I don't know either way. I don't know the Cape that well.
Bass River.
So anyway, Bass River.
Exactly.
From Bass River. And my cousin got married that weekend. So my parents actually got, the way our school schedule worked out, my father was a teacher also. We had an extra day on the other side of it, ironically. So they managed to book a place down in Falmouth. And I've never actually Albie fished down in Falmouth. So I called Brian, because I know he knows the lay of the land down here. And he was great, man. We buddy boated for the day. And it was really cool. But go back to the color thing. I was like on a tear. I caught like 4 or 5 in a row. And my mother she actually caught the first and second one of the day. It was her first Albie she ever caught. And then she's like, oh, I'm going to change my color. I'm like, here, use this one. Her first cast. Boom. She nailed one, So.
What was it that day? Did you remember?
Was it Albie Crack?
Yeah.
Albie Crack. Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, Albie Crack was good this year.
Was it Albie Crack or was it Pink, that one? I think it was. I think she was fishing Pink and I gave her an Albie Crack.
I find that, like, I don't know, Hyannis East, that like the shrimp is like the orange colors, are like, because they have more bay anchovies out that way.
Yeah.
Shrimp fucking slaughters with, that orange color slaughters anytime you have bay anchovies. Peanut Bunker, Albie Crack, and
we were on Bunker feeds.
And Bone is really good. If they're on silver sides and stuff like that, that's when you're gonna really do well with Electric Chicken and stuff of that. We found a lot of baby bluefish this year down the Elizabeths, and white, like that bone white that Hoagie does, was crazy this year down there. If you had any other color, you were not getting eaten.
Wow.
And if you had white, you would get just slaughtering fish.
Now, is there a trick when you're there and you're seeing the Albie's feed, and say you're not able to get right on top of the bait and see exactly what it is? Is there any subtleties that you're looking for so you know what color to start?
So for me, a lot of it is obviously I'm out there every day, so I know what bait is present in certain areas just from being there the day before. But if you do catch a fish, turn it upside down, shake it, let it throw it up on the deck, and you're going to see really quickly what they eat. And then you kind of pay attention to how they're feeding too, because Albies are just like tuna. Their feeding behavior of how they actually eat the bait is going to be different for each bait. Like if you see sporadic explosions, like sporadic, really, really hot explosions on the surface, it's usually like baby bluefish. It's a bait that's super fast, that they're charged up running after, and there's only a couple in a school, like maybe like 12 baby bluefish running away from some Albies, and they're really charged up and they're smashing them on the surface. You could see with what's called a foamer. A lot of times we see these Albie feeds and it's a lot of Albies and the water's like foaming with them, and they're in a concentrated area. Usually that's something like bay anchovies, okay. A captive bait that can't really go anywhere, that's in there in large numbers. So you can start developing right away by eye what these feeds look like just from being on the water enough. You know, I know if they're on peanuts, because obviously you can see peanut bunker.
Yeah, they're easy to spot. They're definitely easy to spot.
You know, but usually on Cape Cod, especially in the fall, there's so much bait. Just look in the water. Just be observant for what you're doing. A lot of times, like midday, we find, like for me, I find a lot of fish in open water. I start to get away from midday. I like to go away from the shoreline and start working on like shoal areas and like open water areas, and we find a lot of fish out deep. And they do this thing called sipping. It's like, you know how tarpon roll on the surface?
Yeah.
They do these like sideways roll sippy things, and they're eating a lot of times what's called snot bait. If you've ever fished down in North Carolina, you would know what snot bait is, because they get a ton of it. It's like microscopic, hatchling,
Almost like jellyfish looking
like jellyfish.
Yeah.
Looks like boogers.
Yeah.
You know, that's what they call it, snot bait. And they're just rolling on this snot bait. And what they'll do is they'll literally stay in like a formation, and they'll work in one direction, eating snot bait for 8-10 miles, feeding into the current. You know what I mean? Just feeding into the current in a direction, eating it. And once you see them, you kind of get with them, you follow them as they're doing their rolling thing, and you just set up ahead of them.
Yeah,
You know?
they'll come right in there.
And they basically come to you.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's honestly awesome advice to go get out a little bit deeper, because every time I've gone, you kind of just stay tight inshore. You get the morning hours, and then by like 9 o'clock, it's like, what do you want to go in?
Wants to run and gun with Albie stuff, man. I'm like, just sit there and be observant.
Yeah,
because sit in an area where you find bait and just be observant, and watch see if there's a bait spray. Vinny Scatino's got that tower now, man. I'm so jealous.
That would be such an amazing.
Because I know
tool.
there's days where sometimes if I know there's a lot of fish, I spot lock a lot for Albies.
Oh, yeah,
so I'll get
nice.
on the trolling motor and spot lock in an area where I know they are.
So when you're fishing though, are you typically the only boat there? Because I could see like someone being like, "What the hell?"
So
if you're not drifting
when
along.
I'm Albie fishing, I do this thing. I like to start long for the day. So if I have a plan, whether I'm leaving the harbor and I'm running east, or whether I'm running west, or I'm running south or west, when I leave the harbor, I run as far as I can, distance-wise, where I want to go for the day, and then start working backwards. And what that usually does, it gets you away from the bulk of the other boats.
Gotcha.
So that maybe the first 3 hours of the day, you have somewhat quiet to yourself, because boat pressure with Albie fishing is like the biggest thing.
Everyone's gonna get off the ramp, see a few boats, and go to those boats and see those birds and the feeds.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
so
let everyone. Whenever I'm in Falmouth, I like to let everyone stop at Nobska. And I just bomb by them usually.
I kind of do the same thing just when I'm targeting my mackerel for bait for stripers. I kind of unless I know they're really close, I can get them. I kind of think of all right, the farthest way, and work my way back just for time wise too. So I'm quicker back in. So instead of striking out and having to go again further out, just kind of go as far as you're going to go and work your way back.
Yeah.
But just the fact that the other thing about spot locking for Albies, it kind of puts you in that mental stage, I'm not moving. I'm going to stay here for a minute. I'm going to let them come to me.
Some days I'll stand on the gunnel.
Yeah.
I'll put 2 guys up front, 2 guys in the back, but I'm up on the gunnel now 3 feet higher than everyone else. And dude, you can just see so much more in the water.
Oh, it's crazy. It's crazy.
And that's why I want the tower so bad.
Brian P., if you're listening, throw some towers up this way.
I'm super jealous. And
yeah, because Vinny's got a pair custom,
he's up on
that tower.
Vinny just picked up a pair 24 deep feed with the full tower, not the half tower.
Yeah.
The full tower is what's up.
The full tower is
You can't go halfway.
No, you can't half-ass it, right?
You can see everything. Like when you see the Albie feeds, you're only seeing 1/10 of what's actually there, and sometimes you're just seeing schools of Albies just swim by the boat that you can just lead them, up in the tower,
Now, how are you telling your clients to reel these lures in? Say you're fishing epoxies or something like that. You having to burn them?
It's all based on the bait.
Yeah.
Again, so peanut bunker or bay anchovies, a lot of times they're in a ball. So Albies aren't typically gonna leave their feeding zone because they're moving so fast. They're not gonna turn and chase down a single bait. They want to kind of get a few baits at once sometimes, and So I usually like to slow things down a little bit if they're in a huge ball of bait and the bait's not moving fast. If they're chasing bluefish, where it's like a couple of bluefish scattering along, or like even like out east this year towards Monomoy, we're finding small half beaks.
Oh,
Dude,
cool.
they were like
That must have been something.
like, just like bluefin tuna chasing
Yeah.
half beaks.
Yeah.
And dude, you're ripping that shit as fast as you can. You know when that's the case. But yeah, like Stage Harbor, Monomoy, those areas had baby half beaks this year. You know, out that way. You know, so it was just everything was kind of predicated on the bait for the day.
Oh, so you're in Falmouth, right? That's where you're going out of.
Yeah, but I have 180 gallon fuel tank.
I was going to say you're going all the way to Monomoy
with a 1.9 average fuel burn. So you know,
yeah, that's awesome.
No, it's
I got the means to get it done.
I get the job done.
Yeah.
So generally, what I do is I'm kind of in the middle. I start in the middle, and if they're in Buzzards Bay the day before, I head to Buzzards Bay. If they're out east, I head out east. If they're down south, I head down south. You know, it's just you kind of gotta look at your weather conditions, obviously too. You know what I mean? Because it is September, that time of year.
Yeah, the wind really likes to blow down there.
The wind likes to blow on Cape Cod.
Yeah, especially when we get down there, I feel like.
The
seriously.
reason why I bought my new boat was I got done with an Albie season, and like everything was falling apart on my body. It was like 3 years ago. We had like small craft like 21 days
Oh,
in September, and I fished every one of them.
oh.
So what boat did you have before?
I had a Tidewater 23.
And now,
Great boat, not the best guide boat, but a phenomenal recreational fishing boat.
yep,
Especially for the price point, you know.
for sure, they're a popular boat. You kind of feel like you see a lot of them.
I'm running a Jones Brothers 26 fully custom now, and you know, built down kind of by where Pierre is down in North Carolina, and very similar company in that it's all 100% custom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of times you're dealing with the factory. You know, Monahan Marine up here is their local dealer, so everything kind of goes through them. But I've been super happy with it. But just the comfort factor that this boat is.
Yeah, they're beautiful boats, man. They're nice and heavy too. Like
Yeah.
there's someone that has
Triple
a 21. I see
construction
them all
boats
the
just
time.
run.
Dude,
Yeah.
those three-piece boats
The
are just where it's
three-piece
at.
hulls, just they don't beat your ass.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And I mean, the more and more, I'm gonna be that guy. I'm doing a podcast. I gotta call you back. Let me turn that off. 1 minute. You can edit this shorter.
No, we're gonna embarrass you.
No, you can embarrass me. I am that asshole.
It's all right. I actually remember to shut mine off today.
But yeah, dude, the triple construction's where it's at. You know, if you look at any guide that's been guiding for a few years and they finally go and buy a guide's boat, it's always triple construction because they just everything. They last longer. They ride better.
They're easy to customize on your own. You want to throw some rod holders in, you drill a hole, done.
Everything is good about them. You know.
And, you know, you mentioned that thing, the difference between it being a good wreck boat and a good guide boat. Like, I think the people listening and stuff, like, you got to realize the amount of hours and the places that we're going, the people on there. These boats get the shit kicked out of them.
You know.
And we try to kick the shit out of the boats.
I don't try to kick the shit
I
out
don't
of
try
them,
to, I guess.
I
It's the cost of doing business.
It's the cost of doing business. I was just telling Chris a long time ago. Me and Chris were running back from Block Island. We did a photo shoot with Humminbird down there, like 5-6 years ago now.
It must have been 5 years ago. I just got the pair.
It was pre-COVID, and it was like the first time. One of the first times we were running the pier, wasn't it?
It was like literally I had it for like 2 weeks, and then like, hey, let's go to Block Island.
We did this photo shoot down in Block and with Humminbird, and I remember running back, and it was kind of getting dark out. And,
that storm cloud was kind of coming in.
Storm cloud, and I really, I was familiar with the area, but not that familiar. And we had wind against tide, and
It was getting nasty.
and dude, I ran that shit back red line the entire way because I didn't want to be running in the dark. And I ran that shit through like 3-foot seas at 54 miles an hour the whole way home.
The Tidewater.
In the Tidewater. And the Tidewater was a good boat, but it got, it definitely had some mileage on her, dude. She was, it cost me a lot every year to kind of keep her looking that good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And really keep her in shape. Where the 3-piece construction hull is like, I mean, these things, it's literally night and day.
It really is.
It's night and day. I mean, they're built to commercial grade. You can beat the living crap out of them. And they look the same. My boat was in Boston Boat Show this year. You would think it just came out of the factory.
I got to hire them to detail mine. Holy crap.
Monahan Marine
Monahan.
detail. And
good work.
Man, those guys really made it look pretty.
They must hate you, the kids that are cleaning that boat.
Oh, I didn't think they were going to do like a full detail on her, but they really made her look really pretty. Those guys down there are great guys. They take good care of me. I've had a long time relationship now. Bunch of boats from them. Countless sets of engines, electronics. Those guys are always great to me.
Yeah, that's great.
But I'm happy with the boat. I'm happy with everything, how it came out. I'm just
Up
like
my
you.
turn. All right.
I'm Humminbird Minn Kota.
Yep.
So very similar setup. As far as our boats are set up electronics wise.
What do you got? Twin Apexes?
Twin Apex 13s.
Yeah. I couldn't get two 13s on mine. So.
Did you go? Did you go with the through hull?
No, it wasn't out yet. You know what's funny?
Through hull is the shit,
dude. So it came out 2 years ago, right when you got your boat built. So I didn't have it.
I can be running like I think 33 or 34 miles an hour and still be reading fish on the bottom.
I can still read bottom fine with mine, but your picture seems super clear.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy that you can run over fish and be like, they don't look 100% how they should look when you're running at that speed, but you run over fish, they're fish.
You know that they're there.
You can double back at that speed, which is like game changer when you want to cover water. Mm-hmm. The fish are somewhere and you need to cover water. The through hull transducer is like really, really, really good.
Yeah, it's funny you brought that up because when we came back from the Rhode Island show, I brought the Minn Kota book home because it had the picture from that photo shoot in the new thing. Yeah. So I brought it to my parents' house yesterday. I gave it to them, and then my dad just called me. I was flipping through that Minn Kota thing. They got a through-hull transducer now. I'm like, I know, I want one so bad.
Dude,
so that's the way I'm gonna go.
I can't say enough good things about that.
Yeah,
it's really good. So both Anthony and Joe Champa are running them now too.
Yeah,
they're awesome. They're awesome. Those guys, I think, are running Solixes. I'm the only one with the Apex.
Yeah, I got a 13 Apex and a 10 Solix.
Okay,
on mine.
Cool.
I think on the next boat, I might go. I was talking to Jeff Clark at the show. We were like planning it out. I'm like, what if I go with like one of the, what's the big one? Is it 15?
19.
I might go with a 19 with like a 13.
Sexy.
The 13 up on the dash.
Do a 13 in the tower and the 19. It's just sexy, dude.
Yeah,
but I like the redundancy of two. That's the problem.
I'm a redundancy guy.
Yeah,
I'm like I buy two of everything.
Yeah. I know it is funny when I buy like a fishing reel, a fishing setup. I buy two of them. It's like, why do I need two?
Dan's not a charter captain. He's got like just as much gear as I have. It's ridiculous.
I buy my fucking rods in 4s and 6s.
Dude, how horrible is that?
Horrible.
If you see a rod you really like, $300, but you gotta get 4.
I like to buy in pairs because all my friends that don't fish with me.
Just this year, decided to kind of. I'm a big Shimano guy. Love it. Love the product. It's awesome. Been using it for years. Rods and reels. Can't say enough good things. I have no affiliations with Shimano. But I got the opportunity to look at some of the Zach's custom rod stuff.
Yeah,
Some of his newest blanks.
Yeah.
I wound up ordering like a lot of rods.
His blanks are good. His blanks are sweet.
Yeah, when I was at the Box Pro show talking to him, and he was just like, "Yeah."
So I went back to take rods off the order because I was
went
crazy. The first time I ordered 7 more. The first time, and then I went back again to take rods off the order, and I ordered 5 more.
You went to take some off and bought more.
Yeah, so I'm like 13 more rods than the original order. That was already like 17 rods or something like that. So it's disgusting. It's a disgusting habit.
Well, it's like, it sucks as a guide because like you want to get like your light tackle like rod that can throw like a half ounce to like an ounce and a half, or maybe even that range. Then you need your big out, your big ones.
Everything is a tool.
Everything's
has its specific.
Well, that's exactly
and you
it.
need one for every customer. If like all of a sudden this one thing is working, you know what I mean. It's like, well, all of a sudden you have to change styles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you need to have enough. Like I don't usually fish more than 4 on my boat unless I'm haddock fishing. So if I'm bass fishing or Albie fishing, 4 is max.
Yeah.
So I got to have 4 of everything.
Yeah.
You know.
But yeah, like you said, even with lures, like, oh, you want to get a nice lure? Well, guess what? You're getting 4. And then it's like, how do you store
Buy
them?
everything by the case.
Everything by the case.
Fluorocarbon, docks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everything comes by the case.
Yep.
You know.
Well, if you think about like bass fishing, tuna fishing, there's just so many different ways that you can get the job done.
I have simplified a lot. Like I used to be a buy everything compulsive freak. I have calmed down a lot. Plugs, bone, that's it. I don't fuck it. Bone, or sometimes mackerel patent, depending on the plug. I don't buy a zillion plugs. I buy 3 plugs in my arsenal.
Yep.
You know what I mean? In one or 2 colors a piece. That's it. I know what works for me. Plastics. I use a lot of Al Gag stuff. Al's awesome.
Great dude. I picked up a couple of his stuff at the show the other day.
He's a good dude. I got to say one thing about Al. Every year, he wants me to use the product, but he wants to know how the product works and if he can make it better.
Yeah.
What can he change? And he asks me what new product, like R&D stuff for new product all the time. He's so involved in like, if I tell him we need to change this, he does it. Which is pretty cool.
That's awesome. Have you used his tuna jig heads?
Yeah, I was like the first ones to use them.
And have you hooked up on them?
Yeah.
Because I bought like the whole collection.
His new tuna jig stuff.
Yeah.
So originally, the ones I was using, the non-pivoting heads.
Yeah.
I was like one of the first ones to have them. I took them last time I went to Galapagos Islands. We took them down there and we fished them for marlin, and we had marlin up to 600 pounds. I caught a 600-pound blue marlin on one of those jig heads.
Wow.
And, they work, man.
Awesome.
I mean, even the non-pivoting, now we have this big game series ones, and those things are going to crush.
Yeah, so do you like the 6 ounce or the 8 ounce?
So, I mean, last year, obviously, the rage was, everyone would go down the sword.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just because the fish were down there. It's deeper water, and the lighter jigs that were 5 and 4 ounces for every brand that had tuna jigs at that weight, they were kind of getting washed out a lot of times with the current, and you really weren't effectively fishing bottom. That's why a lot of guys were fishing metal jigs down there.
Yep.
So when developing these this season. I told Al, okay, Al, with the swing heads, if we are doing this, we want 6s and 8s. That's what we need. We need a head that's going to sink fast. We kind of changed the shape of the head a little bit as well. We used the same hook as we had on the 3s and the 4s, because that hook, no matter what anyone says, I have the utmost confidence in.
Can you share what brand and style hook, or is that proprietary?
Al has a proprietary hook that owner is making for him.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. This hook is vicious. I have not once ever broken a hook.
Yeah.
Or bent a hook. Not even a little.
Is that what he's calling it? Is it a big game jig head?
I don't know exactly what he's calling it, but it's.
We'll ask him Saturday.
Ask him Saturday. We're going to be with him this week.
You're coming up too?
I'm coming up. Yeah.
Oh, hell yeah!
Oh, nice.
Al called me last week and was like, "Hey, I'm going to this show up in Newburyport." He's like, "It's a pretty good show," and like, I used to go all the time to like those shows to the Surfcasting Association and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go. I said, call him up. And James Jukes is, a friend of mine too. I didn't really realize James was running it, and
yeah, he's a big honcho on the Plum and Surfcasters.
Yep.
And Al called James. James called me, and I said, yeah, give me a booth. I'll come up. So it all kind of happened quick.
Sick. Hopefully, I'll ask him, see if we can get next to each other.
Yeah. And but yeah, I mean, his stuff's been great, and his bodies are awesome. I play around with a lot of skirted stuff that he uses too. I find like skirting baits work. It just widens the profile a lot of times. And I was very hesitant when I went to Galapagos about the skirted baits. And I was like, I don't know about these things. It was just one of those things that I had never fished them before. And then by the time I left there, I was like, dude, I'm skirting every bait next year. Everything got a skirt. And dude, stripers loved them. Tuna love them. The skirted baits are the shit. So he started offering the skirted baits. With the owner hooks, 4-stripe bass 2 and 2s and 3 ounces. He even makes a 1.5 ounce now, and we're also we just developed a lighter head for the guys that are fishing like almost weightless, the real big soft plastics.
Oh yeah,
like the 14s and the 10 ounce, 10 inch and 14-inch soft plastics, and they want like a crazy heavy duty, vicious sharp hook, but like on a real light jig head, like a half ounce and 3/4, like that.
Yeah.
We just came out, we developed something for him. Me and Anthony Forty were working with him, and we put together something that he's gonna come out with.
It'll be a nighttime killer for sure.
Yeah. For all those guys fishing, at night, that's gonna be a game changer to have a hook that's just so much better than most of the other hooks out there.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things to find is find good jig heads with light weights, with good hooks.
And the other thing with Al too, like even during COVID when no one else had inventory, he's 100% American made out in Springfield.
Yep.
It's nice to be able to call someone and the next day stuff is at your door.
Well, that's the real good part when you get associated with a lot of these local fishing companies.
Yeah.
It's so nice.
And like Tomo's Tackle carries them. I'm in Tomo's all the time. So if I need to pick stuff up locally, Fishing Fanatics is right by me. He carries them. When I need to pick up stuff locally, he's got them. So it's been good. I like his product. But again, I've kind of slimmed down like the stuff I use overall. I think
my whole mission this winter was to take my 47,000 Plano boxes that I have all over my boat at all fucking points in time, and I was able to get everything that I wanted, that I needed, in a milk crate.
Yeah.
Done. When it comes to plugs, in the milk crate.
I've gotten very organized.
Yeah.
Habitually, I still buy too much. Obviously, I think last year when I bought my docks for the year, I got, I think it was like 3 dozen docks.
Holy Christ!
I have extra this year, but like I order everything. Jumping minnows, I ordered. They come a dozen per case.
Yep.
I think I got like fucking three dozen jumping minnows or something like that. And I use jumping minnows, docks. Yozuri mag minnow. That's it.
Mag minnow's a good one.
The Yozuri mag minnow. That's it. I transitioned at the end of the season because the mag minnows were getting kind of expensive. I transitioned over. Rapala has like their new like distance casting, swimming plug. And it already has the inlines on it, and that was
perfect. So you didn't have to swap them out.
I didn't have to swap them. But the reason why I was using the mag minnow is the mag minnow swims awesome with inlines.
Yeah.
Where like the SP minnow, in my opinion, the SP minnow swims like shit with the inlines.
Everyone kind of loved the SP minnow for a little bit there, and it was okay. But again, I was watching them at the inlines, and I've been using. Actually, we started fishing a few Nomad lures last year.
Yeah, the Nomads work great.
The
as well.
Shikari is outfished that SP minnow. We were fishing them side by side a couple days.
Great. Yep.
That Shikari was great. You caught a couple of real nice fish on yours, right? What was it? The yellow one, right?
It was the yellow-backed one, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what was that, glow? No, what is
You
that?
vibe last year?
We tried a little vibing. I gotta give it another shot.
Yeah.
It looks good. It feels good.
Big fan of the vibe.
But but it was just so short of what happened. Like I was kind of planning to really get into some schoolie feeds and stuff like that. But then we just all of a sudden the boats were in the water and they were big fish and we were just pounding sluggos and stuff like that.
I feel like it really would have worked very well on the beachfront feeds, throwing into that. But I used it mostly in the river, and I feel like the current affected the action too much.
Yeah, I felt like the high current situations. They weren't.
Have you tried the DTX?
No, but I honestly, I picked that thing up. I picked that thing up and I look at it and just this is so beautiful.
They used to make, and I hope Nomad sees this, they used to make their DTX 220 and 200 in a color called Ghost Shad. And it basically looked like a holographic pogey.
Yeah, I have a Ghost Shad.
And they stopped making it in Ghost Shad. Please make their DTX again in Ghost Shad.
Wow.
Because that thing was dead ringer for a pogey, and they work so well.
I'm gonna have to
I don't particularly like trolling plugs. It's not the funnest thing, but if you're marking fish at 30 to 40 feet of water on the bottom, those things will run at 30 to 40 feet. So you run fast until the bills rub into the sand.
Until you get that tip bounce.
And then you just back off the throttle a little bit so they raise up 5 feet. They're fucking deadly. Wow. Absolutely deadly. And that color was the shit. And I try to find every tackle shop around that had the extra ones, and I have they didn't have it last year. I couldn't get any new ones.
The guys in California were really raping them. The Mascads too, the big Mascads.
The Mascads.
But we were doing pretty well too. I'm a big jumping minnow fan.
Yeah. I'm the king of the jumping minnow.
And so I started tossing around. It was a Riptide Fatso. It was Nomad's jumping minnow. Yeah. It's a little bit bigger. It cast a little bit better. And man,
what's it called?
It's called a Nomad. It's a Riptide Fatso.
Does it come with inlines?
Yes, it does. Ooh, actually, yeah, mine's in line.
Okay, I'm gonna have to.
I think you could, if you get it online. I think you can order it either which way.
I think so. Tomo's a Nomad dealer, so I'm gonna go up there.
Yeah, he has them there.
Okay,
dude, you ready? You ready? I'm gonna tell everyone. Early morning, the gold color was. Really? I'm always white. I got this gold for no reason, and I don't have any paint on it anymore.
I'm anti-color now.
I know. I've always have been. I just threw it on one day, fucking around, and we wore the paint off of that.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. I'll have to try gold.
Give it a shot. I don't even know why I got it, to be honest with you.
Well, that's like Henderson used to do the Czar Spook.
Yep.
They used to do the chrome.
The chrome one.
The chrome one was fucking killer.
Yeah. And I still got a couple of. I think I actually took the Zara Spooks out of my box.
I think I stole a Zara Spook from you.
Yeah. I think you have one of your
before the dock. It
was the big spook.
They used to make the mag spook.
Yeah.
And it was the same size of the dock.
So what do you like? Do you like the dock or the bone more?
What? The dock?
The dock in bone.
In bone?
No, so the Jigging World makes a bone now?
They call it the bone.
Nothing. Yeah. The dock is still crazy good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely. I feel there's a difference in hookups with the two.
I haven't tried. I'm one of these guys. Andrew Hajar over from Charlestown, Mass. used to do Atlas lures. We developed something that was like a really oversized, fatter version of the dock. That's pretty good too. I've used that. Andrew makes custom plugs though.
Yep.
For anyone that's looking for something a little bigger, a little badder, those are pretty cool too. I think he calls them the tank. He makes a bunch of stick baits I use. He makes a bunch of topwater plugs I use now. But yeah, I'm either throwing those or I'm throwing docks. I don't really carry too much in my arsenal beyond that anymore. I'm really down to like under half a dozen plugs.
Dude, too many options makes things too crazy.
No,
too.
no, dude. I have like a half a dozen plugs, and I carry 10 of each on the boat.
Yep.
And if I have to refill the Plano boxes, I do. The only thing I carry like option wise is like my soft plastics from Al. Like I'll carry color wise of those. But besides that, I try to keep it basic. Enough that I don't ever run out on a charter in case something goes nuts. And then everything that I've accumulated over the years, as soon as the bluefish show up, I just let them chew those things to death.
Yeah.
So on that trip that we took down to Rhode Island for the photo shoot, here's my doc story. So Vespi, who we had on the show last week, right? He, as like a parting gift, he's like, hey, I want to give you something. This is like an original doc. I'm like, what's original about it, Greg? He goes, listen to the rattle. He takes that one, whacks it down. Then he takes one of the newer ones, whacks it down. I'm like, oh, wow. I'm like, that's a real nice low rattle. He goes, this is the original. Here, you can have it. I'm like, oh, like I didn't even want to fish it, And so, of course, what happens, I'm fishing it. I'm like kind of hiding it throughout the year. It's like the last one to come out. I had it rigged up on a rod that like I did a couple trips and went out afterwards and like fished it and like had a great time, left it on the rod. Next day, I want to charter and kid cast it. We're anchored. We were in a spot with like wicked high current. We're anchored. Snap. Thing just goes right down.
So me and Andrew Hajar, when we were developing that big tank topwater plug, we went through a few different prototypes of it, shifting around weights and trying to make the buoyancy right. And now one of the things that I think makes the dock so deadly is the dock floats flat in the water.
Correct.
So you get the silhouette. We were playing around with buoyancies, and we finally got this thing right. Like this thing is bigger than the dock. It rattles better. Everything was better. It walks awesome. And there was one day where the bite was on. We got a shit ton of fish on it, right? And we had a bunch of variants I had been trying. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And we got a shit ton of fish on it, and it was like the last fish of the day, or one of the last casts of the day, I'm sorry. This kid snaps this thing off. And like into the shoreline that I couldn't get into. Like it was like this rocky foam water. Like I couldn't retrieve this thing.
Yeah.
Basically. And then so I call Andrew. I'm like, hey, that last one you sent me, that thing's the shit. I'm like, make me a dozen of them. And he's like, I need it back. I need to figure out which one it was. And I'm like, what do you mean? You don't remember what you did the last time? And it took us a while, but yeah, we figured it out.
He did, yeah. We should set him up all the other ones.
Exactly. We eventually figured it out what that exact prototype was. But I remember back in the day, the original docks I had seen were in like wacky paint jobs. Do you ever see one of the original ones that were like?
I've seen new ones with paint jobs on them, but
I found one like a long time ago, like well before guys like I had started seeing them. It had a perch. One was perch, and one was loon, and it was black with spots. They call it loon, and they were like they were musky plugs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Back then, and so they had shitty musky hooks on them with shitty split rings, and I took those, I sanded them down, I painted them white, and that was because Henderson had stopped doing the mag spook.
The Zara spook.
The mag Zara spook. They had discontinued it. I found those stupid things and turned them white, and then all of a sudden, kind of after that, I started seeing people with white ones already that were being sold,
Yeah,
which still come with shitty hardware.
Yeah, so
very, very shitty hardware. So I hope they hear that too.
Well,
upgrade the hardware. No one minds paying an extra $2. It sucks to have to change everything.
I just switched out so many hooks and dealing with like those heavy split rings and buying all these different hooks and swapping them all. What a pain in the ass.
I like doing that stuff though.
I do, but I
do it
don't.
in the springtime. It gets me all jacked up.
Yeah.
I go down in the man cave and I tinker, and I'm like,
I'm going down there right after this, man. I can't
and
wait.
I'm like, I fuck with everything. I'm like, this year I'm moving around my house, and this year I'm gonna have a lot more room in my man cave, and I'm like really excited, you know. So.
Are you taking the pizza oven with you?
No. The pizza oven's still going to be in the backyard.
You can't get rid of that thing.
Get rid of that thing.
We had a nice hour-long conversation about this amazing pizza oven while we were eating dinner.
I gotta have you guys over for that.
We're in.
Everything goes in everything tastes better in the pizza oven.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, you make a prime rib in the pizza oven.
That's amazing.
You know?
Well, there's probably no more cows left in Providence after our night at the steakhouse.
It was a good night, dude.
That was a fun time, man. Now that you're coming up here, let's go out on a Saturday if you got time.
Yeah.
Go for lunch after the show, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, what time is the show?
It's early, isn't it? Like 8 or 9, 8 o'clock.
Yeah, it's 8.
I got a presentation. on seasonal striper strategies at 9 o'clock.
Dude, in the summertime, I'm so used to waking up at the ass crack of dawn, and now in the wintertime, I get in this routine. I wake up at 7 or 8 o'clock, and it's I'm like, what the fuck? I dread springtime, making the springtime transition, because springtime, a lot of times I'm on Cape Cod. And I'm waking up super, super early to get down there to launch for a 4:30 launch. And a lot of times I'm waking up at 2 a.m.
Yep.
You know, so springtime to me, going from 8 a.m. wake up to a 2 a.m. wake up is horrific.
I train myself
Takes
a
me
little
a
bit.
full week and a half, 2 weeks to really
to adjust and everything.
And then at that point, in the fall, when I make the transition to not working anymore, I'm all fucked up.
Yeah. Now you're a
I'm all
full-time
fucked up.
guide, right? That's what you do?
Yeah, that's all I do.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome.
you know, I do as much as people will call me and I'll be let's say I have a single trip for the day, which is I'm booked. I am booked every day, May through early October. Usually, I don't take any days off. I'm booked 7 days a week, whether they're a single trip or a double trip day. If I'm running a single trip and someone in Boston calls me that's from out of town and is in the city of Boston, they find me on Google and they're like, "Hey, you got something for the afternoon?" I'll be driving home. I'll just turn around and go back, because no matter how tired you can be sometimes, dude, how can you pass up? I mean, I get $900 for a half day.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, if I do that, that's like a week of living in the wintertime.
No shit. And think about the guys that might turn that down 5 or 6 times a year. But you're looking at
dude,
$500,000 difference.
Yeah. You got to try to go on the days that listen. I try to go on every weather day that I know the fishing is still going to be good. If I know the fishing is going to be good, I'm not too worried about the danger factor, especially with the new boat. You know what I mean?
That boat's
but
gonna
if I
take more
know
than
it's
you
a
can.
wind direction and the fishing's going to be shitty, maybe at that point I'll call a trip. But for the most part, I only take weather days. That's it. I book 7 days a week. And if you really are gonna try to do it full time, you have to.
You have to.
If not, you're really, you're not. I was down Florida I have a condo down there. I was down Florida and I was sail fishing with a very affluent guide, and he scoffed at I said, I'm guiding full time, and he's like, phew. He's like, how many days are you on the water? And I'm like, I tell him, and he's like, I did 310 days last year.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. I'm like, it was like, excellent guide. But he had that tired guide vibe.
Yeah.
I get it.
You get a little grumpy come September?
Oh, dude, come September, October, I'm fucking ornery.
Yep.
Yep. Some days, I had a bad experience one time with a guide that was a complete dick on a charter. And I promised myself that if I ever got to that point of being that miserable, I wouldn't do this anymore.
Yeah.
So I I try to give myself a little pep talk every day before I go down the boat. Mm-hmm. You know, I do this because I want to do this, not because I need to do this.
You know, it's crazy. You definitely get that vibe. You wake up in the morning and like, I know this.
Oh, it's Groundhog Day. It's Groundhog Day every day.
What day it is.
Yeah. Oh God, know what day it is? I don't even know what time I'm on. I know the tide and the moon and the wind, but I don't know anything else outside of that. It could be World War III going on right now, and I had no idea.
Exactly.
But like, it's almost like those days when you're just like tired. The weather might be good. You got a new group. You don't know them yet, and you're trying to put on the face. And just so many times that turns out to be the best day. Like you get the best people. Just pick you right back up, ready to go for another week.
The fishing's good, dude.
Oh, and the fishing's good.
The fishing's good. There's been days like the fishing's good, and I'm like, I don't want to go back in.
Oh, dude.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to go back. How do we leave this? I had a good customer earlier in the year. This kid, he's a good customer. He books me a bunch of times a year. Took his dad out. Dad's a little older. He caught a good day. One of the days you know every year you get like 2 or 3 of
that are just special, epic, special days.
Special, epic. And by 8 a.m. we had caught so many fish. The father, I can't reel another fish in. And I mean, every fish was over 45 inches. It was fucking insane. I'm calling buddy boats in. I'm like, I told the buddy boat, you know, come over here. I'm not using the radio because I want no one to know where I am. I'm calling my buddy. I'm like, hey, come over here. It's really good. No, we're into fish. It's decent over here. I said, whatever you're doing, get the fuck over here. I said, I don't care. Come now. Like, dude, it was every fish was like. We got 3 fish that day that were over 50 inches.
No shit.
Like it was every fish they were Mongols.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And these 2, father and son, they caught a bunch of fish, and they wanted to leave. They wanted to leave by like 7. It's like 2 hours.
You're like, sit down and shut up.
I'm like yelling at this poor kid, like stop crying about a key fish, and for an hour, I kept them there for another hour, and finally, he's gonna hear this podcast. I know he is. And finally, he made me take them back in. I went and dropped them off. I went and got a coffee, and then I came back out.
Yeah,
I was like, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, you can't leave that behind.
Couldn't. I got an iced tea, and I came back out because I don't drink coffee anymore.
Dude, it's like I had this string one day.
That's the other thing.
Year.
I'm like, my acid reflux started bothering me, and coffee, like, they took me off caffeine, and a lot of shit got better with my acid reflux, but no caffeine. Being a charter captain is fucking horrific.
Yeah, it's awful.
I mean, listen.
You're running on fumes, guys. You have no idea.
Some captains are running on coffee and cocaine, but it's like I'm just running on coffee. You took me off coffee. I'm like, oh man, it was tough. It was tough.
So you talked. We had a discussion about this acid reflux thing in coffee a couple of weeks ago, right? And it's like the same thing. Like I get really bad acid reflux, but like I gotta have that coffee at 4 o'clock in the morning.
I think it's because like we're on the go so much. Like you're on the go and you're just
eating shit.
I'm smashing food in my mouth like 1 time a day. I eat this ginormous meal.
Yeah.
Just to eat something.
Just to put something in your body.
I'll be like a camel for the rest of the day.
I actually don't eat on the boat.
Eating, barely pissing some days because you're sweating out all your fluids.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I got to do a better job of taking care of myself because my body broke this year. And I got COVID for a week. I was down for a week and I came back too early because I was like, I can't like. I'll wear a mask for a couple trips. I came back early, feeling better, retested, okay. Came back to work, and it was fucking hot. I was miserable, and I almost blacked out on a trip.
Dude,
I was going on a tuna trip. Thank God on a tuna trip. I was so dehydrated from being sick earlier in the week and then working for a couple days, and I wasn't drinking enough fluids. I got offshore, And I was out with like one of my best customers who's 100% knew something was. He looked at me at the ramp that morning at the tuna trip. He goes, "Are you okay?" And I had literally just finished puking up my guts in the side in the side of the ramp, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm good." And we get out, and we got like 5 miles off the ramp, and it was pitch black. We're running in the dark. I'm running just off my radar and my screen, and I had my buddy Carl with me, and I looked at Carl and I'm pouring sweat, and things were I was starting to black out, like I was starting to lose stuff. I looked at Carl. I said, "We got to go back in. You got to take the wheel." I looked at my buddy Bob, who was the client, and I was like, I'm sick right now. I don't feel good. We need to go back in." I told him, he knew I was sick leading up to the trip.
Yeah.
I go, we got to go back. And then I lost another like 4 days of work.
Oh.
I wound up having to go into the hospital and get fluids. I was at the Bass River ramp, and we had launched at like 3 a.m. I had left Boston at like 1 o'clock, and here I am now in Hyannis Hospital, hooked up to an IV. And you definitely, I mean, if you're running this many trips, you definitely got to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
You
I think just remembering to drink water, like that's,
Now, so for the rest of the year, I bring Pedialyte packets.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So get the electrolytes in.
Yeah.
Just mix it right into the water bottle.
They're a lot healthier than Gatorades, because the Gatorades, the amount of sugar.
Sugar would just get you, yeah.
That's the thing. Like I usually grab Gatorades on a like a quick thing. I'll grab a couple 12 packs or something, and the sugar's horrible.
Or, before that, an energy drink. You know.
No, I was never an energy drink guy.
Me neither. But like
my acid
sometimes
reflux
you
was
just
really
need
bad. I couldn't handle it.
I was always like an espresso guy. I love the Starbucks espresso shot, the little cans of espresso shots.
You're a psychopath.
Oh, dude, you smash a couple of those in the morning, you'd be fucking great. I don't know how some guys are doing it. It's just it's tough. Like I said, when he told me, the guy down flight, he did 310 trips a year, I was like, holy shit. 310 days.
Yeah,
so not even trips. Okay, that's what I was looking at.
That could be like 600
these
trips.
Guys down south, man, they're running like fucking, they're running Freemans and fucking CVs, and they got to pay for this shit.
Yep.
And they're running boats that cost $1 million too.
Yeah.
Imagine paying, I mean, you know how horrified you are to buy a new boat up here. As a guy,
it's tough, dude.
Imagine paying 10 times what we're paying.
No,
for a boat. For a guide boat. These guys, but they're doing the number of trips
that make it happen. Well, yeah. I mean, we're just so hampered by, realistically, at best, a 6-month season.
Yeah.
For guiding trips.
I do like 4 months, 7 days a week, and then I do, the 2 teal months. I do a bunch of weather dependent sporadic trips. Yeah, what I mean. If I get 10 to 12 in each of those teal months.
Yeah, like April, October time.
Yeah. April, October, and even early November. I'll get sometimes for tuna trips and stuff like that. But I take and when I can do my doubles, I do my doubles.
Well, that's awesome, too, because you're centrally located in Boston, so it allows you to get down to the Cape without too much of a hassle to do that. So it really extends your season. Like our charter season up here, really is mid-May, end of May to pretty much September. Fishing's still good.
The
charter season.
Fishing's great until October. Is nice.
Different.
I'm even talking with Dan Smith about maybe going down with him in the late fall.
Yeah,
nice.
Down where he is in Tiverton for a little bit.
That's a great fishery,
dude. If I can grab 5 or 6 trips down there, I'll be happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a cool fishery down there. It's mostly just hog that time of year.
Have you ever done that fishery before?
Oh yeah,
that hog fishery down there.
I've done it.
It's stupid.
Times. Yeah,
it's so fun.
Although I love the bass stuff and I love the Albie stuff, I'm really obsessed with bottom fishing.
Really?
I like haddock fishing. I like the KISS methods, like keep it simple, stupid. I love a bait in a hook.
Just throwing it down there.
Just throwing it, yeah.
The simplicity of it.
I love fluke fishing. Fluke fishing is my shit. I wish we had more fluke. We have some up in the Boston area, but dude, if if I was based out of Bass River, I would fluke fish like how, like, you know, like Shimmy the Greek and some of these guys down there. Like, my business would be fluke fishing.
Yeah.
You know, because I love it that much.
I don't think I've ever really gone and targeted fluke before.
Oh, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
I've
fun.
caught some, but I haven't targeted them.
It's a lot of fun, especially for big fluke in deep water.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's good shit. If you ever have the opportunity to get down to the shoals, down south and, you know, south and east in Nantucket, it's so. My first the first time I did it was actually with Jimmy the Greek. And I was with Tomo. Tomo, me and Tomo are pretty good friends, and he invited me on a 4th of July. He takes every 4th of July off and goes out with Jimmy.
Yeah.
And he invited me to come out with him, and I tagged along one time, and I was blown away at the fishery.
Yeah, my partner Mike goes down to Cape, and he does a Nantucket, couple Nantucket. So a couple of years ago, that's all he would talk about.
Simeone used to go all the time too.
Yeah.
Simeone, and he has a bunch of good spots, and you know it's a cool fishery down there for them. You know, they get big. They get big.
Yeah, I mean, the only time I've talked to Jimmy the Greek was he was at Hudson's one day, and
he is a very nice dude.
Oh, dude, we talked for like 2 hours, just in the bay. And you know what's funny? I had just watched On the Water that morning or that weekend, and it was him on the water. So we were talking about that. And but I always wondered, like, his boat name is On Time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't realize it was because he was a watch dealer.
Watch
yeah.
dealer, yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, so he's a big black hole guy.
Oh, okay.
So I remember, you know, for a long time, I was always, you know, I love the Cape, you know, back before I was guiding and I had a rail job. I would go down the Cape all the time and trail my boat constantly, like every week. I'd be down there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You know, I would take every weekend. I would be on Cape, and I learned Boston, but I also learned the Cape just as much as I learned Boston.
Yeah.
And I remember I would always see the CV bombing around down there on a trailer, and I would stare at this thing, and it was always Jimmy. Jimmy always had a badass CV.
Such a sexy boat, man.
Yeah.
Growing up, that was my favorite.
Dude,
that was my pinnacle. That's what I wanted.
I hit Powerball getting a CV, dude.
Right?
That's the boat.
That's the boat.
The guiding boat.
Yeah.
There is none better. I mean, I know there's like the Freemans and stuff like that, but for a mono hull, you know, a single center console mono hull, there's nothing better than a CV. You know, the construction, the ride, the guide I was just out with down Florida has a 37Z. Dude,
Wow.
that boat was bad.
Man.
Yeah,
Bad.
like I would like a CV like that size, like that high 30s.
He had the full tower, 37 feet, stepped hull, open,
Oh.
you know, four 60, 80 gallon live wells on the boat.
That's well into the millions, right? That's like
I mean, yeah. I would think that boat new now with all the inflation is probably right around $900,000 million.
Like a gajillion, bavillion dollars.
Yeah, more than I can afford.
yeah.
More than I can afford, unfortunately. Up here, as a guide, it's such a short season, you know, to be able to afford a boat like that is tough. And even now, like just even as a guide, repowering a boat like that. Like,
Yeah.
like
Trips big or two big 400.
You know how many hours we put on? We have to repower every year. You know, those guys are doing double, triple the hours we are, you know. And how many fucking engines these guys having to get their hands on? That's why Florida sucks up the entire engine market. The state of Florida screws the entire country.
And there's no downtime. It's not like they have a winter to save and put a new engine on. They gotta like, hey, I need this on Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I just put new engines on my boat too. Again, I'm very fortunate to you know be able to work with Yamaha and Monahans and get some new engines every year now. And
How many hours you put on your motors last year?
960.
960.
950, 960, and that was within 6 months
Yeah.
of running, and that was using the trolling motor a lot with the engines off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I figure I do about $1,200 a year to $1,300 a year on the hull. You know what I mean? As far as like you know, not non-running engines too.
Yep.
You know.
I've noticed a big difference.
It's a lot of time in the water. It's a lot of trips. It's a lot of time in the water. It's a lot of wear and tear on your body. But dude, I love it, dude. I couldn't.
What else are you gonna do? What are you gonna teach high school like an asshole?
I could not do a regular job.
What did you do before you were a guy?
I wore 1,000 hats. I was in the meat industry. I was in the cheese industry for a long time. I'm a chef by trade. I was in the My father was in the bicycle industry when I was a kid. He had one of the largest bicycle shops in the state.
Oh.
And family business work, did that as a kid. But I was always like one of these kids. My father, he was always really tough on me as a kid. If you needed money for anything, my father would never give me a dime.
Yeah.
I had to work for it. So I worked for him as a kid. I bust tables in the North End, and I worked in a cold cut store. 3 jobs. I was juggling 3 jobs when I was still in school, like grade school. I was juggling. I was anything to make money, but I always had a water cat. Like I would go with my friends, they would have like $5 that the mommy gave them, and I'd have like $700 on me.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'd have I'd have the gangster roll. Yeah. I always had a job and just always worked, always made money, and just from there always bought nice things.
So was your dad a big fisherman, or how did you even get into fishing?
My uncle Anthony got me into fishing.
Oh, okay.
My father worked a ton when I was a kid. Again, a really hardcore work ethic, came out of him.
Yep.
And he instilled that in me, and then I had another guy I worked for, really, really good guy, became a real good mentor to me. Still to this day, and he instilled in me, and he always told me, no matter how much you have, be hungry. Want more, be hungry, because if you're not hungry, somebody else is going to take it from you. And I still to this day, and then growing my business, growing this business, I was hungry.
Yeah.
And I had more hustle.
Absolutely. And you still are hungry, and you still are hustling.
I'm still hungry, and I still hustle, and I think that's kind of why I got so popular as a guide and took the amount of market share that I did so quickly up in this area. Because
honestly, man, that translates to just about every business out there.
Yeah, dude.
It's like we just live in a time where like mediocrity
I have
is
to slow
okay,
myself down, because I'll literally step on people and kick them out of the way.
Yeah.
If given the opportunity.
Yep.
I don't mean to. I'm just like, I want it, and I'm coming for it.
Yep.
You have to be like that in life, no matter what you do.
Yep, absolutely.
No matter what you do.
1,000%.
I want to leave in a regular job that I had been for 9 years, kind of 9 to 5 job. I was making good money, awesome place. Left there, went to work for my father, took over the business. My father kind of semi-retired. Got out of that, and owning that allowed me to transition into guiding. Once I found out what I wanted to do with myself, then I really wanted to drive this business to where it is right now. That I can work and do what I want. I mean, I wish I was in a fishery like Florida I wish I could do it 12 months a year. I would do it until my body fell apart.
Yeah.
I don't see myself leaving this industry until my body can't take it anymore. I'll fish till I go.
Why
I was
would
telling
you?
my wife.
Great job.
I made a comment the other day. My wife got all nervous, and I was like, I hope I drop dead on my boat.
Yeah.
I said, if I drop dead on the boat, just have one of the other guys find me in the harbor and just burn me on the boat. I want it to be like a Viking funeral.
Yeah.
Just light the boat on fire and let me drift away. But yeah, dude, I couldn't do anything else.
That was deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was horrified when I said that, because she knew I
Like, not next season, when I'm like 80.
She's like, I want to be buried together. You know, and I'm like, no, I want to go at sea.
Yeah, you can come on the boat too.
You know, so I don't know. I love it, dude. I couldn't do anything else.
Yeah.
I'm spoiled.
That's awesome.
No, it's awesome, man. You know, especially up here, you took the risk and you went out and did it with a short season and figured out a way to go. Definitely inspiring me right now.
I got all these other guys down in Boston now guiding with me too.
Yeah.
You know, we got Anthony Forti, got Vinny Scatino, got Vinny Simeone.
Yep.
You know, got Joe Ciampa, Mark D'Angelo. I mean, all these guys. You know, around now, and just it's you know they it's their own businesses, but they kind of operate with me, and we've been very lucky to kind of.
Well, you work together. You drive a business to an area.
We took over a very large chunk of the market share. We do our marketing together. We do our shows together, and it's been a good gig working with others. And usually, you know, the mentality when I came into this is most charter captains wouldn't even talk to one another. They were grumpy.
Yep.
No one wanted to work together, and I built my business about, you know, working with others and you know and benefiting and stuff, and you know, networking and everything else. And everything's been good, man. You know, I think we have the most solid inshore network of I would arguably say on the East Coast for as far as charter captains right now. You know, we got a lot of business. You know, I was so busy during COVID that my phone rang so much, and I could have had a full-time secretary.
Yeah.
About 7 days a week, multiple. I mean, it was nuts. It was nuts.
Do you feel like the COVID thing is kind of weaned off a little bit?
It's weaned off. Businesses, listen. So it's definitely all the free money dried up. And
Dude, those COVID years as a guy were fucking awesome.
Hey, man,
it was ridiculous.
Just cap me out on your boat.
Please. I was doing 3 trips a day, man. It was great.
Dude, I remember I used to do 3 trips a day. It's blood money.
Blood money. Dude,
blood money.
Dude, we went to remote school, right?
I don't do that anymore.
I have remote schooling. So I actually got to fish like in May and June during the week. So like my classes didn't start at 11. I'd do a 5 to 9, come back, do online classes for 2 hours, and then go back and fish 2 to 6 charters, both sides, all the way through. It was fucking awesome.
I don't know. I've kind of streamlined my business now too, that as I'm getting older, I know I can't physically push as hard, and I want to give my customers the best of me.
Absolutely.
You know, when they come on my boat. So I try to not. I try to do 2 to 3 doubles a week, and then the rest of the days I try to do full days, 8 hours. Maybe 2 days doubles, the rest of the day 8 hours, and then Sundays I only do an early morning trip, and then I want to be back to the dock on Sundays by 10 a.m. I want to be back to my house by 10 a.m. and I just spend Sunday afternoons with the wife just because she needs time. It's a mental break for me. We go out, we have a nice lunch, you know, go up on the North Shore, do something, have a couple of drinks, and then I can just crash for the afternoon after that.
I say every year I'm going to take Sunday afternoons off, and I never do. I can't say no. I can't say no to taking people out. You know,
well, the marriage thing
that helps for you.
It definitely. I mean, my wife's a fucking saint.
But she's got to be.
I don't know how she puts up with it. I literally, I'm either around too much or I'm not around at all.
Say that.
Shit, I drive the poor thing crazy in the wintertime. I'm the worst. But it's just the nature of the beast, man. And you're so used to going 7 days a week, and then all of a sudden it ends, and it's like you're just climbing the walls.
Yeah, what's the winter like for you? What are you doing?
I was plowing. I had some plow contracts and I'm doing a bunch of shit. I just sold my plow and my plow truck. I just bought a luxury truck. I'm done.
Yep.
I'm like I'd rather focus on more of my TLN business right now, and either figure a way how to run different trips earlier in the season and later in the season than have to deal with like bullshit winter work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want to do this, dude. This is what I want to do. I don't want to do anything else, you know. Whether it's shows, or I want to focus on my business. You know, obviously I take a bunch of vacations in the wintertime. I have a place down Florida. It's down North Miami area. I spent some time down there, a couple of weekends here and there, a week here and there down there. Usually I'll do like boat shows, like Miami Boat Show, you know, Fort Lauderdale Boat Show, stuff like that.
Those boat shows are ridiculous, dude.
Real boat shows.
Real boat shows, dude.
Real boat shows.
Yeah, if you think you've been around money, go to Miami Boat Show.
Miami Boat Show. Someone was telling me it brings like $22 billion to the economy in like a week's time.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
As far as like people coming in for the shows, the seals, everything that kind of goes on.
Wow.
It's fucking crazy.
Wow.
It's fucking crazy. But yeah, I spent some time down there. Last couple of years, I've been doing the North Carolina thing. You know, not guiding down there. I've been going out with a couple other guides down there, just as like a kind of like guys' vacation.
Yeah.
At the end of every season, and that's pretty, dude. The North Carolina fishery is the shit.
Yeah, it's everything.
Everything you have in Florida. And everything.
Yeah, it's like the midpoint, mid-Atlantic,
right there.
Yep.
You know, you could be catching blue marlin and mahi within the same trip that you're catching striped bass, bluefish, false albacore, and then you can go inshore and catch redfish and speckled trout.
Wow.
All in one day.
Sign me up, man.
All in one day on one boat.
Yeah, what time of year is the best time to be fishing down there?
Down there, their best time of year that like it is really when things end for us. So it's like late October, early November. Dude, it's firing off 100 Albie days. Like, 100 Albies, like, they're basically...
Yeah, they're like a nuisance fish down there, right?
Nuisance fish.
Yeah, they don't even like them down there.
And then they also get them up to, like, fucking 25, 30 pounds down there. Too.
What?
Yeah.
What?
They call
25-pound Albie?
They call them buffaloes. Then
That's awesome.
Then they have wrecks all over the place, because down there, especially during World War II, there was a lot of, like, submarine activity where, like, U-boats were sinking our boats off the coast down there. So there's all kinds of big tanker wrecks.
Oh, really? I didn't know they came
wrecks.
that close.
Oh, yeah. I fish a wreck called the Subwreck, and it's a German U-boat that the U.S. military depth charged because it had sunk.
So they must have been spy submarines, right?
Yeah. It had sunk like 20 boats, and the U.S. military finally got it.
Wow.
But all these wrecks are covered up in every fish imaginable, from giant amberjack up to 70, 80 pounds.
That's right. They got humongous amberjack, too.
Oh, my God.
What a guide's dream that would be,
I would
huh?
never fish for striped bass. If we had amberjack...
Every day.
They're the best fish.
I would forget what striped bass are.
Every day
right?
I do that.
It is so much fun. And
The one and only time I ever got into them, I was down in Florida.
I was feeding Albies to amberjack.
Yeah,
I was
that's
taking
awesome.
them and bridling them like a mackerel and feeding them to amberjacks. It's
amazing.
And then taking the amberjacks and feeding them to bull sharks. Because,
Food chain fishing.
dude, it's awesome down there.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Wicked cool.
It's it's a cool fishery. It's a dangerous fishery. You got to know what you're doing. Guys die every year down there. It's no joke. I was down there this past year with Terry Nugent, and Terry's an unbelievable captain. I don't know if you've ever fished with him.
I haven't, but
excellent captain, very safety orientated, and we tried to jump the shoals on a day that was kind of hairy. Not one other boat had made it across the shoals that day, and he's always like pushing the envelope and really wants to outfish the entire fleet. And we did that day.
Yep.
We tried to cross the shoals, and it was like 12 feet in cresting. And like the way, when they crest, right? And it was like, we got into it a little bit, and I looked at Terry, and I said, "This isn't worth it." And he's like, "I was waiting for you to say something. I didn't want to be the pussy." Because he knew he had another guide on the boat, and the other two guys are like white in the back.
like, oh, thank God.
So we came back to the beginning of the shoals, and there's this little cut through called Shark Island, and it's basically like a surf zone crossing, where like it's all white water, breaking white water, like surf zone, but it's like you only have a small period of the time where you're tired, where you can get through this, or you'll ground out. And Terry's like, I mapped it with the side imaging. I know, I've been running it, a couple times this year already. I got this shit. Let's go. I'm like, I think we can make the crossing there. And we're looking at it, and it's like 3 to 4 feet of white water, just constant white water. So we get 3/4 of the way through, and dude, we ground out, and the boat spins sideways.
Oof.
Scary.
Oof.
Scary. I immediately ran to the bow of the boat because I could feel that it was the engines that ground out.
Yeah.
Because we came up on a wave, and the bow came up, engines came down, the engines just dug right into the mud and sand.
Yeah.
And then just the boat just stuck. I ran to the bow, and I grabbed one of the other guys, and we put like 500 pounds real quick in the bow. And I could just feel the next wave hit as we were sideways, and the engines came out. We floated sideways, and Terry throttled up and spun the boat, and that was fucking scary.
You spun it to go back? How did you go out?
He spun it forward. And then we went backwards how we came.
Gotcha.
It was one of those things that I told him, let's wait an hour. We need 1 more hour of tide. We waited an hour. We just blasted. We went right through it.
Yeah.
We jumped shock, and then we wound up having like 100 Albie day. And then we went and we got an 80-pound amberjack.
Nice.
Pretty cool day.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Pretty cool day, but we pushed the envelope, and every other boat skunked. The entire fleet skunked that day.
Yeah, so.
And he pushed the envelope, and he was fucking rewarded.
Yeah, and those days happen. Sure.
So, yeah, I mean, if you ever get a chance to fish that fishery, I've wanted to learn it the last couple of years, and I've been down there with 3 different guides, over the last 5 or 6 years, and it's a very cool fishery. I think at some point in time, I might potentially do some fall guiding down there, like take my clients, go down for 2 weeks, have series of clients like how Terry does. Terry's,
so you can kind of make it like
Terry's a Cape guide.
A vacation.
He does like 2 months down there.
Yeah.
He does that long down there, huh?
Yeah. I think he does October, November, And dude, you can fish pretty much up until Christmas.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of extra trips.
No kidding.
That you can get in as a full-time guide, and it's beautiful down there. I mean,
it's warmer.
Nice, with a little warmer, nicer weather, awesome fishing. Just a nice area. You're in that Outer Banks area.
Yep.
So I finished up this year down there with him, and then I went to. I took a little vacation with the wifey. I met her, and we went down South Carolina. Fell in love with it down there, and we wound up buying a little place down there, a little timeshare place.
Oh, you did? Congratulations! Yeah. Whereabouts in South Carolina?
Hilton Head.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, nice. Did you get like a quarter share? Is it one? What? How much time did you get?
A couple of weeks.
Nice.
Really liked it. Realistically, so this place has a place in Charleston and Hilton Head, and I fell in love with Charleston. She fell in love with Hilton Head.
Yeah.
But she won the battle. But I can swap. We can swap times.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You know what I mean? And I'm planning on at least spending a little bit of time every year down there. Unbelievably beautiful. I think one of the nicest places in the U.S. And it had a lot of, like, Charleston to me had a lot of old. So I grew up in the North End in Boston, so we have a lot of old history. Like cobblestone streets and old brick.
And Charleston's got that.
And like the oil lamp burning lights in the street, like they had all that, and like to me it was like, oh wow, this is almost like like home to me. It was like, but it had that southern charm,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, pretty cool. But yeah, that's pretty much I'm up to nothing.
Well, I'm trying to get this guy to get going here and go to the Galapagos, because you went fishing down there. You talked about it a little bit earlier. What's the fishing down there like?
Fucking Jurassic Park.
Dude, let's go.
It is absolutely wild. So Peter Santini, who owns Fishing Fanatics, has a full-scale operation down there. He's had it now for like 25 years. It's just getting better and bigger. He's running two big sport fishers down there now. I mean, you're leadering a dozen mile in a day. Where else in the world can you go consistently every day and leader a dozen marlin.
Yeah, that's wild.
Nowhere.
So what's a trip like that like though? Like from start to finish, you get off the plane.
From start to finish. So now it's now been streamlined a little bit. So before you had to fly Boston to New York City.
Yep.
New York City to Guayaquil, which is in Ecuador.
Yep.
And then you get a jumper plane to the island of San Cristobal. So now the Galapagos, I think it's like 10 islands, but San Cristobal is like the most populated island. That and Isabella. San Cristobal is like I don't want to say a little bit more rudimentary, not so fancy. And then Isabella is like Martha's Vineyard in Nantucket.
Okay,
It's a little nicer on Isabella. So San Cristobal has an airport. It is basically a runway.
Yeah.
It's like you're landing in the jungle in Jurassic Park, and then they literally at the end of the runway they turn the plane around with a truck like one of those runway trucks,
Yeah.
and then it takes back off up the same runway out to the water. But now JetBlue is flying direct Boston into Guayaquil, so you eliminate a 5-hour layover.
Oh wow.
Wow.
And it's a direct flight. So, it's a little bit more streamlined now. And through the food, it's a volcanic island. It's super lush. It's like that opening credit scene of the original Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
They do run in herds.
Like, dude, you see animals on there that there's flightless birds, because there's no natural predators on. People were killing the cats on the island because the cats were killing all the other fucking birds because someone brought a cat and it's decimating everything.
Oh,
There's no predators on this. There's no predators on the islands.
Wow.
Don't they have the big
They got
big lizards?
the giant tortoises,
The
tortoises?
the marine iguanas.
Yeah, the marine iguanas. That's what I was thinking of.
I took a picture, and I didn't even mean to take this picture, but I had 7 endangered species that are only in the Galapagos in one picture, just fucking by accident. So that's how much cool life.
That's amazing.
That's down there. So you get to this. It's about I think 3,000 people that live on this island. There's one main town. Really pretty. Fucking sea lions everywhere. They're running around the streets like dogs. You got to be careful because they're vicious. You think they're nice, friendly things until one of them tries to eat you. Yeah, dude, I had one legit chase me down the street. And they'll lay in people's front doors to get out of the sun. And,
Really?
Yeah. And they fucking shit everywhere.
What sea lion shit look like? How big is it?
Well, it looks like it. That's what it fucking smells like. So the island's super cool. So that's along the water, downtown. So you have a main marina. A lot of the hotels are in the main marina, and Peter operates with this. One woman who has 2 big hotels. One in the main marina downtown, and then one up on a bluff, overlooking the entire downtown marina. It's on a hill, so it's a 5-minute walk. And he was the last time we went down, he was like, "Yeah, it's brand new." I was like, "Yeah, I want to stay over there, dude." It was awesome. I had a penthouse suite, fucking upstairs, overlooking the entire village, town, and marina on the water. Wow. Right, swimming pool, jacuzzi, my own bar up on the roof. And then everybody else was in this compound that we were in, and every morning they would drive. Every morning at 7:00, Peter would meet us downstairs. They'd make us whatever we wanted for breakfast. We go downstairs at 6:00, eat. By 7:00, Marco, who's Peter's partner, would pick us up in the pickup trucks. We'd get in the bed of the pickup trucks with all our rods and shit, and we drive down to the boats. The boats are moored in the harbor, and what they do is a water taxi takes you out to your moored sport fisher. You load up, and by 7:30 you're rolling out, and you fish from 7:30 to 4:00.
What time does the sun come up?
The sun comes up about 7.
Okay.
Down there. So you're right on the equator. You're 800 miles west of Ecuador. So you're in the middle of fucking nowhere.
That must be so cool, dude.
And so there's the down there. It's 400 square miles of no commercial fishing, and there's only like 4 permitted sport fishing boats. Now there's 5 in 400 miles of some of the best fishing on the best ecosystem fishing on the planet.
Wow.
As far as like everything is there because of all this volcanic, there's this volcanic zone that tracks everything. It tracks so much bait, and then also you have like 2 or 3 currents that merge right there too, and it's just such a cool zone. And it has, the amount of marlin, tuna, mahi. I mean, you're raising 50 to 60 marlin in the spread a day. You're trying to shake 50-pound mahi off the hooks to keep the marlin baits in the water. They're jumping around. You're trying to let them just shake the hook.
Wow,
dude, it's nuts. I was reeling in like a 40-pound mahi, and as I'm reeling it in, a black marlin that was like close to 1,000 pounds was trying to fucking eat it.
Yeah. Can you get shocked out there big time too? So
yes, we fish only artificials.
Okay.
When we're down there, 100% artificials. Because if you put baits in the water, the shark, they have these sharks called they're basically a type of bull shark. They're called Galapagos sharks. They fucking eat everything. So if you're not fast with your catch, it could get eaten by a shark. One of the really cool things is because it is a marine preserve down there, they only have a certain number of permits for the sport fishing industry, so you don't have a lot of boats. So you're literally fishing. You might only see one other boat for the entire day.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And that's a really cool thing. You also have to there's a marine biologist on the boat making sure that everything is kosher.
Oh, so that's like a law?
There's a law. He works for the government. You have to pay him to be there for the day.
So it's part of your charter fee.
It's part of your charter fee. Yeah. Santini has everything like set up. He has a guy. He meets you in the airport in Guayaquil, gets you checked in, make sure you're safe, gets you to a hotel if you got to stay overnight there at all. Everything's taken care of. He does all the logistics for you. Get to the island, all your tips. He'll give you a price that kind of has everything. This is your all-in price.
Yeah.
And it's just, the fishery's just crazy. Like we did jigging, vertical jigging for groupers and snappers, and they got these they look like scup down there, but they're like 10 pounds.
Oh, cool.
You know what I mean? So they have like all kinds of cool things down there too.
Do they have rooster fish there?
I'm not sure if they have rooster fish on the island. I know they have giant Jack Crevalle, like huge jacks.
Oh wow! Are they GTs?
I think they're probably GTs.
Yeah.
So a lot of the inshore stuff is closed to fishing.
Oh, okay.
So you can only fish certain areas. You know what I mean? It's very strict and very restrictive.
Are they their own country? Or do
the Galapagos?
Yeah.
No, I think it's Ecuador. They're part of Ecuador.
The part of Ecuador.
Part of Ecuador. Yeah. Just you can catch everything down there. You can get yellowfin, you can get wahoo, everything. I mean, the marlin fishery is why you go down there. I mean, you go down there specifically. You want a marlin, you can go get a marlin.
See, marlin's never really moved the needle for me. Like, I don't know why. I've never really gotten into marlin, but this trip just sounds so amazing. I want to go anyway.
It's one of those things that I don't think it ever really moved the needle for me until I did it.
Yeah.
Now it's like tuna fishing on fucking steroids. Because imagine all the raw power of a tuna.
Yeah.
Except they jump through the air, and then when they get to the boat, they're trying to fucking impale you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like
tuna with a sword and wings.
With a sword, and they could come in the boat and kill you.
Do you think they actually they make those actions like they are trying to impale you?
100%. Yeah, 100%. It's they're all defensive.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, if there's a lot of times these video divers filming these fishing shows get attacked by them in the water.
Wow.
They spear them.
Oof.
Because it's a defensive thing. So you got to be really careful. leadering these things and paying attention to them. You don't take your eyes off of them. Don't look back at your buddy, because that thing might be coming in the cockpit. There's times the captain's very good about, working the throttle too, because the captain will watch the behavior of the fish. And if he sees the fish is going to take a charge at the cockpit, he gooses that boat. So you got to be ready for him to goose the boat forward.
Yeah.
At certain times, especially if the fish is really, really green and starts coming at the boat, because they'll jump out of the water, they'll see that boat where that boat is, and they'll try to actually come into the cockpit.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool, Then you get to see all the different species of marlin down there. They have stripes, which is your most predominant, and they're all like a small stripe is about $1.25. A big stripe's gonna be like about $3.25.
Yeah.
Then you have blue marlin. The small blues are around 300. The big blues are going to be a grander down there, about 1,000 pounds. And then you have your blacks. Your blacks are going to be the biggest usually down there. Blacks can be anywhere from 500 to 1,100. The day after I left the last trip down there, I had left Peter my stand-up setups because he broke a rod while we were down there. So I left my stand-up setups, and they hooked an 1,100-pound black on one of them.
No.
Took 4 hours in the harness to get this thing to leader. It looked like a fucking dinosaur from the pictures. Mm-hmm. They got pictures from up in the tower of them leadering it. 2 of them holding the bill to subdue it.
Wow.
And it was just massive. Such a cool fishery. And they're all like distinctive. And one of the cool things is they come into the spread and they attack the baits differently. Like
different species, so just everyone's got its own attitude.
Different species. So stripes will come in like fighter jets.
Yeah.
And they'll actually kind of glide in formation, and they'll stick their bills out of the water and attack. Right? So it's really cool because they come in electric stripes all lit up, and they attack.
They're wicked cool. I've seen them down at the Cape all lit up. They're amazing.
Those are the striped marlin. And then you have blues. Blues and blacks, they're much larger, and they do this ambush attack. Well, the captain will usually see them coming in because they're so big. He'll scream either. He'll usually say azul, azul, azul. It's blue, it's blue.
Yeah.
And he'll be screaming up in the cockpit, and it'll come into the spread. It'll disappear to the side of the spread, and then they always hit the shorts. So you're running real big, like black bart chugger heads, like right off the transom.
Yep.
And it'll come in fucking 10 feet off the transom like a locomotive. You know how tuna, like big, grander tuna hit like surf, like hitting a bait as hot as they can on the surface? They come in and they come across the spread sideways. So the boats here going like this, they'll come in and come sideways.
Like perpendicular to it?
Yeah, perpendicular, but right off the transom, like 10 feet off the transom through their eats, right, like that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And yeah, they always come after the largest baits in the spread, and those are always your shorts, And, they're just, at that point, the blues and the blacks have so much more power and energy than the stripes. They're just fucking impressive because they just go ballistic, and they're just you're holding on for the first 15 minutes and it's all acrobatics, whether they're coming at you, going away from you, just raw power, like the biggest bluefin tuna, except it's going through the ear too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and every time it's going through there, everyone on the boat is fucking screaming.
Yeah.
And a lot of times down there, you're hooking multiple at the same time too. So, not really with the blacks and the blues, but the stripes, you're hooking 3, 4 at a time.
Yeah,
It's a Chinese fire drill on the boat. So, it's super, super, super cool. I love marlin fishing. Dying to get back down there. Hopefully this year. Dude, we got to get down there.
I'm going.
Yes,
I'm getting my
it's the
fucking
ultimate,
passport this week.
And now that they're running 2 boats, you can get a group of 8 guys to go.
Yeah.
That's a cool guys trip. And the food was spectacular.
I bet.
It's all that volcanic soil, so it's like being in Italy almost,
Yeah.
That's the only thing it reminded me of, is like eating the food in Italy, where it's like as fresh could be.
Yeah.
You go out every night to a nice restaurant, relax, smoke a cigar, hang
Yeah,
out.
that's awesome.
It's just a cool, chill place.
Dude, how do you leave a place like that?
So the last time I was there, I was on the island for 10 days. Okay. And
Did you fish for 10 days?
I fished 5 of the 10. You literally can't fish more than that.
Okay.
So the first day, everyone's like, I'm up next. Yeah. The last day, you're like, dude, you're up. I don't even want to fucking fish. The last day we were down there, the last time, all we did was fish spinning rods. Yeah. Casting at fish because we were so tired of catching marlin on convention.
Now, are you bringing setups down there, or is everything there?
He has conventional setups with a couple rudimentary spinning setups.
Okay.
I brought all my high-end jig and pop shit for my client because I go down with my clients and some better friends, and I brought my nice shit, my shit that I would guide with for bluefin. Yeah. And we flew down a ton of high-end stand-up setups and stuff, so we could take it to the next level.
Yeah.
You know what really sucked? The last time I had brought my 14 weight, and I got to the airport, and I was just overweight. Oh, I was just overweight, and down there, once you're overweight, they won't let you on the plane. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I remember taking the fucking Tabor fly rail over. Out of the luggage. Yeah. I called my wife, and I had her swing back around and pick me up and pick up the rail outside the airport. Before we left for New York, because they weighed the luggage when I got there. I was like, fuck. I had 2 luggages, and they can't be more than 50 pounds apiece, and one was 51 pounds. Oh. Yeah. I was like, fuck. I was like, what has to go?
Just leave all the underwear.
I know, dude, but we were there for a while, and I was like, I had already skimped out on a lot of shit. You know? I was like, all right, the fly rail's got to go. The fly rod made it, the fly rail didn't. Yeah. Okay, so I left the fly rod, and the fly rail, and the flies, and dude, we had so many shots at marlin on fly. It was disgusting. Next time. Next time, Next time, I gotta make one of the other guys that comes next time lug some of the shit too.
Yeah, definitely.
The last time we were down there, 2 of the guys were coming from Miami, and 2 of us were coming from Boston. So I only had one other guy to help lug a ton of fucking equipment.
Yeah. What's it like with getting the rods down there, though? You obviously
so I usually take a bunch of fishy vacations a year anyway. Yeah. So I have specific rod tubes. I have all the equipment that a camera crew that would do a fishing television show.
Yeah, actually, I think my dad has some. So we went to Florida a couple times and brought us stuff.
And I have the real luggages, everything. I have everything to pack, and I had hard cases with GoPros and all kinds of shit for when we were down there. I have some sick footage, dude.
Yeah.
And granted, I never did anything with it because I'm basically illiterate when it comes to stuff. But I have the footage, and once in a while I'll pop it and I'll watch it, and I'll get a big heart on.
Go right on looking for plane flights.
It's such a cool fishery, dude. You guys gotta get down there.
Yeah. Well, let's plan it up.
Yeah, definitely worth it. I wish we had stuff like that up here, but I mean, you're just talking about an untouched, something that's truly magical.
Yeah, totally a lot different than fishing for stripers in Boston Harbor.
Oh yeah, completely.
Battle boats down there.
Completely different. I've been fortunate enough to fish a lot of really special places around the world, and that's probably the most special.
Have you done the Key West tarpon thing yet?
Oh yeah.
Oh man, that's my favorite right now. That was my favorite trip of all time.
I've done a lot of fishing.
Yeah.
And that's up there. Yeah. I think I'm hooked.
Yeah.
We have to plan a trip.
We should invest and get a boat down there. That could be our winter charters.
Yeah, now that I don't have the plow contracts in the wintertime anymore, that opens up a lot of room for me.
Yeah.
To take a vacation where we can go, because the problem is it's so remote. It's 20 hours of travel time to get there. It's so remote to get to. You don't want to go for 3 days. You don't want to go for 4 days.
Yeah, you got to go for a while.
You know what I mean? So next time I would fish 3 or 4 days. 5 days is way too much. you're fucking beat up, right? I'd probably, so Peter likes you to try to fish multiple days in a row only because then he sandwiches another crew behind you. I know he's making money. He has to do it like that down there. But like if we fish 4 days, I would do 2 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on. He'll let you do that. He'll let you take one break day.
Yeah.
You know, but he rides you while you're down there. He's like, stop being a pussy. Get that fucking fish in. You know? And mind you,
is he driving the boat? Is he mating, or is he just coming on for the trip?
He's like a secondary mate.
Yeah,
because you're literally catching so many fish. You need the second set of hands in the cockpit. He has a captain that runs the boat. Down there, and then there's Marco. Marco runs all the logistics of operational stuff. You know, when Peter's up here too, he's Peter's partner. And it's sportfishinggalapagos.com for anyone that's interested. And Peter Santini and Fishing Fanatics, you can contact him if you're interested in a trip. But super cool joint. I can't say more good things about it. You know,
I'm in. Whenever you guys want to go, you let me know.
Yeah, it's better than fishing for striped bass.
You don't know the struggle's real north of Cape Ann.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we've been very fortunate down Boston the last few years. I know we talked briefly about the fishery. We didn't even get to striped bass.
I know. We haven't even talked about the stripers yet.
But, I mean, the fishery has been so fucking good for the last 10 years down Boston. I mean, I'm a social media whore, and I don't post 1/10 of what I do.
Right.
On social media. I mean, basically been on a rampage for 10 years. I mean, this year is the first year I didn't start weighing fish, but I mean, there was 1 week where, I mean, I was getting 3 or 4 fish a day that were over 50 inches this past season. And I thought this past season wasn't as good as last year.
That's like that's like the entire season for the whole group around us. You know, we start talking about
I mean,
4 or 5 50-inch fish, man.
And it's not just me.
Yeah,
the fish are there. You know what I mean? It's just and I've been super fortunate. I'm fishing with a bunch of really other fishy charter captains, and we've been able to really work together so well now that we're so dialed in. We're just it's unfair what we're doing to the fishery. I almost feel bad. You know what I mean? But yeah, dude. Fishing's freaking good, you know. When I first started guiding, the fishery was kind of coming back. I mean, so don't get me wrong. I'm gonna say this right now. The fishery is not healthy. Yep. I'm just parked on top of a certain amount of fish that are residential fish. Overall, when you look at the fishery up and down the East Coast, it is not a healthy fishery. I happen to be geographically sitting on the last of the Mohegans.
Yeah,
you know, that's what's happened with me as a guide right now. Besides that, you know, you're not seeing these fish. The guys
not this the last couple of years. Other than this year, we had them early, and then they kind of I think they got in the pogie schools, and they all pushed a little bit further north. We were like kind of in the void of the the bigger 30, 40 pound fish on consistent basis, but plenty of slot fish.
Yeah,
plenty of slot fish, that's for sure.
Those poor slot fish.
Oh, dude, they're going to get murked this year.
They got murked last year.
This 2015 class
is not going
to be in that range.
If they don't move this slot, kiss the fishery goodbye.
Yep.
Because imagine if they protected these slot fish, what this fishery would look like in 10 years.
It'd be fucking ridiculous.
It'd be fucking insane. And think of the amount of spawning fish. They really got to do a better job about managing the fishery. You know, I hate to be the one that fucking beats a dead horse to death, but they're making fisheries management makes a lot of the wrong decisions, and they're reactive. They're not proactive. You know, unfortunately. You know,
yeah, I think part of that too, though, is like
I was in meetings last year, and they were like, "Oh, we want everyone to have access to these striped bass." You know, one of the heads of fishery management told me that in the federal meeting, and I was like, "Hey, dude, you know, I think this is a mistake." And now, you know, with the latest mortality assessment this year for what they think mortality was for harvest, like recreational harvest, they're like horrified now. And I was like, but this is what you guys wanted. You guys wanted everyone to keep one fish.
It's definitely a tough position to hold.
No, they actually had more release mortality than harvested fish.
Oh yes, release mortality was crazy high.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, the 2015 year class was so prevalent. The most terrible fisherman on the water was keeping a boat limit every day last year in Boston Harbor. The worst of the worst, the blindest of the blind, went out there with his entire family and killed 5 or 6 fish every day. I watched it happen. Every one of those fish got murked. And then they kept catching fish, and they destroyed every fish when they released them, and there was just miles of floaters as the tide would go out in Boston Harbor.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And you know what? It's completely mismanaged. I know they hate that fisheries management hate it when I say it like this, but you know, they said it in the meeting. They want everyone to be able to keep a fish. You know what I mean? That was their 100% goal by going with this slot, right? And not moving the slot this past year, back in the federal meeting. And I said, hey, wouldn't you think everyone would rather go out and catch a lot of fish and really enjoy themselves than take one fish home to eat? He's like, no. And I said, maybe you're a little out of touch with the fishery right now, with your you know, clientele, basically, the people that you're representing.
There's so many people that come out on my boat, and I'm sure you get the same thing. They're all about catch and release now, too. It's even changed in the 10 years they've been doing it.
I would say 90% of my customers, 95% of my customers are catch and release guys. Listen, but I want you to hear this. I like eating fish. I like the choice of harvesting a fish. Mm-hmm. I believe in doing it ethically. I believe we all should have a choice, right? To be able to take a fish if we want a fish, especially if a fish is gut hooked, especially if a fish is bleeding. You know what I mean? It's a sin to let these fish go, float around like bobbing apples, and float down tide, right? Because as a people, we can't manage things correctly. Fisheries manager manages it the easiest way that they can manage. You know what I mean? They always take the easiest way out when it comes to things. Never taking the tough road.
Yeah, and make everyone happy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
That's exactly it.
The pressure that they get from fishermen.
You know, they get a management. They're going to just manage it so shitty, you know, until they basically like, okay, we got to shut this shit down.
They were caught.
I mean? And then everyone's going to be porked at that point. It doesn't matter for them because they're still getting their federal or their state paycheck. It doesn't matter. It's my livelihood. You know, I actually care. I care about the fishery. It's funny because you show up to these meetings, right? And I'm taking an hour, 2 hours out of my time, 3 hours out of my time to go to this meeting. That's sometimes you go in there, they're like so arrogant. They just don't want to hear it. And they're irritated almost that they have to be there.
You walk in, you can cut that tension with a knife.
And honestly, they may not. I'm not. I think they may not, but it comes off.
It's got that feel. It's got that vibe.
A lot of times, that it has this vibe like they don't want to be here. You know what I mean? I don't want to be there, but I have. You know, if I don't show up and say something,
who is?
You know what I mean? It's crazy, and it's the same 5 people, 10 people, 15 people that show up to every meeting.
Yep.
No one gets involved, and like let's look at what the ASGA just did with everything. You had 1,900 people, right? Write letters and submissions, right? 1,900 people write letters and submissions
for Amendment 7
for that, and you had 21 people. You had 1,900 people who opposed and 1,900 people that were for. I'm sorry, 1,900 people that opposed in 21 people. 21 versus 1,900. They went with the 21.
Yeah, dude.
Is that not fucked up?
Wow.
Yeah, you know what I mean? You have 19 signatures and emails. 1,900 signatures and emails. And then you have like...
Wait, what was it specifically that was in
it was
this?
like
about the
it was
future.
less than 1%. So it was about adding more commercial, taking commercial harvest numbers from other states that can't fill their commercial
And
harvest,
roll it over to
and
another
bringing
state.
it to the state of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
So if they can't fill their quota, the state of Mass is happy to let other people kill more fish, right? Because state of Mass just, I mean, let's face it. Let's look at really, I mean, they are exploiting the fishery as much as they can as a commercial fishery. Not, and I have no problem with commercial fishing, but it is not being managed correctly. You know what I mean? So you had less than 1% of people wanting to transfer the quota,
And they did it anyway.
right? And they're doing it anyways.
Who do they work for?
What is that? Who does they work for? Are they working for the people, or are they working for somebody?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Are they like? How does that work? How does that work? Is it someone just telling them what to do? Like, are they actually following the science and the data, and everything else? It's frustrating. It's frustrating. You know, I don't want to point fingers at certain people, but you know what? It's just tough. You see everything going in the wrong direction. You know.
And then you take a look at the guys like Vespi down in Rhode Island who all got together and they were able to make a change with their tautog regulations and things like that.
Yeah, but I think the tautog commercial fishery down there isn't as strong as the Massachusetts.
Well, just even the recreational, because they realized they had a resource and they were proactively setting rules and new regulations, so to basically throw back the big ones.
You know, Massachusetts, unfortunately, you know, let's face it, things aren't being done right. You know, why would they be making these decisions? You can kind of surmise why they would be making a decision that would go against all the data. You know, because someone's telling them to do it. You basically have an appointed position at the top, okay? And how do you get appointed? Fundraising. Exactly. There's money flowing somewhere, you know. And,
Yeah, I think it's like the I don't quote me on the number, but it's somewhere around like 500 million. I think the state that's the amount of money that they think comes from bass fishing.
Commercial?
No,
Just in general, it's like a $500 million industry.
Well, it's like what Brian's saying. We're getting all the data. They force recreational anglers to use circle hooks.
Yeah,
they have slot sizes, but then they add an extra day to the commercial.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Remember, it was just Tuesday, Thursday for a couple of years, and they added a Wednesday.
One more day. They allow them to fish at night. You know, and again, I don't have a problem with the commercial fishery.
No.
But, okay, you want to be a commercial fisherman? Get commercial fucking insurance. Have a commercial boat. Go out there. Don't be a lawyer by day and a commercial fisherman 2 days a week to pay for your boat slip. Don't be commercial fishermen don't drive regulators. Okay? All right? They don't have brand new boats. They're out there. You know who's a commercial fisherman? The Pogey guy in Boston Harbor.
Right?
Because he lobsters, and in the middle of the summer, he's standing knee deep in stinking 90-degree pogies, shoveling them. That's a commercial fisherman, okay? I have the utmost respect for a guy like that. I have no respect for someone that just basically is going out to grab a couple bucks on the side and rape the fishery.
On their dad's boat.
Right? I you know what? I see so many young kids right now doing that. And their father loves it because he doesn't have to pay for the gas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And they get on the gram.
And you know what? Listen to this and know that when I look at you, that's what I think of you. So, you know, and they're on the IG posting pictures. Okay, you want to be a commercial fisherman, be a commercial fisherman. If not, but what you're doing right now, what the state's doing is slapping the commercial fishermen in the state. And you know what? The fish houses love it, because the fish houses, it's just more bodies through the door that ultimately drive. If there's more bodies through the door every day, it drives down the amount of money that they have to pay out per pound. Mm-hmm. So it's less money they have to lay out. Mm-hmm. Right? So they love it. They love all these guys that come in and take 2 fish to market. The guy, you know what? You're taking 15 fish into market a day and getting your limit, then you're probably a better fisherman. You probably are a real commercial fisherman. But if you're a guy that's bringing 2 fish to market a day, right? 5 fish to market today, then you probably don't belong on the water, unfortunately. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It is what it is. I hate talking like that. You know, state of New York, you know, to get commercial permits, you have to have 70% of your tax revenue as a waterman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, state of Mass will make every excuse to sell these fucking permits, because they sold 4,200 permits last year.
Yep.
You know? Wow. So, you know, and let's say half of those permits bring in 1 fish.
Yeah, I think it's something like that, like 10% of them bring in 1 fish, but it's probably different now.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely. And think of this. I mean, we're crushing the slots recreationally. Mm-hmm. We're managing them to death recreationally. We're mismanaging the commercial fishery. Where are we going to be at? You know, the fishery isn't healthy. Granted, you know, I'm a guide, and I'm touting my guide business is good right now. Yeah, but I don't see, besides certain pockets of fish, you can go to other areas and not find fish.
Well, it's like before that fishery in Boston Harbor really took off, that fishery used to be on Chatham. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And then it was Race Point.
Yeah, when it was Race Point.
And then we had a couple summers where it was off of Newburyport.
Yeah, and before that it was off of the Vineyard down Gayhead.
Yeah.
And you know, mismanagement after mismanagement after mismanagement. You know, you can't have 300-400 boats crushing a small population. It's just.
That's the biggest thing. Is the fact that it's 100 boats in 1 pot of fish in one 2 by 2 square mile area.
Somehow, some way, it just needs to be managed differently. You know, less permits need to be given out. Okay, I would rather see them give a little bit more weight per day to the guys that are actually real commercial fishermen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that they can make a living. You know. And just not have these giant fleets, you know, and try to spread things out a little bit, you know, to where, okay, let's zone things maybe. You know what I mean? You have red tags for Boston, you know, these latitude, longitude.
Yeah.
Tags for
like
here,
fences.
tags for yeah. And then, you know, if you're caught outside your zone, you know, you lose your tags for the rest of the tags for the year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they are cracking down on poaching. I definitely saw a lot of enforcement around the Boston area this year, and I was happy to see that. I really was. We definitely saw a lot more EPOs out doing the right thing, where we haven't seen in years past. But you know, an EPO can only do what the law says. Mm-hmm. You know.
Yep.
If someone's within compliance, they're gonna take what they're in compliance for. You know, if they're allowed, if they can take all their kids out and their neighbors on a Saturday afternoon, go in Boston Harbor and catch 6 slot fish with the 6 passengers that are on the boat, they're gonna keep all 6 slots. They're gonna leave them in a cooler with no ice to festa. Mm-hmm. You know, mm-hmm. And then they're gonna take them home. They're going to do a shitty fillet job on them. They're going to maybe eat one the day of, and they're going to freeze the rest and then throw it out later in the year. You know, they're going to do that every Saturday for the summer. You know, until management changes things a little bit. You know.
Yeah, it's definitely a big complex issue trying to find the exact right thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I want a common. Unfortunately, we have no common sense, but. I want a common sense resolution to these issues. You know, I think everyone should come to the table and with fisheries management actually start to listen to people, and just make some common sense decisions. That's all. You know, that's what I would like to see.
It seems like it's asking a lot these days, unfortunately.
Yeah. And again, I hate to be the one always fucking beating the horse. You know, beating the drum. You know, but I'm making a living doing it off a species. You know, and I'm not saying that I don't kill fish.
Yeah.
Recreational mortality on my boat was probably at an all-time high this year. Especially with circle hooks, because circle hooks aren't the end-all be-all of fishing.
Yeah.
I find I kill more fish with circle hooks than I do trebles.
On your ride home tonight, listen to our podcast that we did. That we just dropped it yesterday with Matt Ayer and Ben Cahagan from the division. Now they're just the biologists and not the.
Yeah, I know. It came. I know the data actually just came back as even, right?
Yeah, so they went into depth. They talked about it quite a bit, but the circle hook mortality and jig hook is the same.
I could have told them, get a couple of guys that are actually out there. So that's one thing. Like I kind of like. You get guys managing things that have no fucking clue, because these guys might fish one day a year, if that.
Yeah.
So how can you have people manage like they should be seriously asking guys that are out there, like, what are you seeing?
Yeah.
Like what are you seeing?
Like have a long form conversation, round table talk.
Wrong table.
Not
exactly.
Not a sheet that I get in November to fill out my fishing for the week.
Exactly. Not a public hearing. I love public hearings.
Yeah.
You know what a public hearing is when they say they're having a public hearing? They have to legally have a public hearing before they've already made up their minds. Mm-hmm. Right? They've already made up their mind of what they're doing. They should just call it a public
info meeting,
a public information of what they've already decided on. Then ask your comments and stuff, because legally they have to notify you of what they're doing, and that's basically what they do.
Yeah.
You know, you have no say in it. It's being done. You know, we've made a decision. Someone has the powers to be have made a decision. I sound like George Carlin now. I go on these fucking wild rants.
So that hook study, though, they're continuing with to the public. So I actually signed up for it because it's going to be fun to do with my kids. But, it's basically documenting the mortality rate between recreational fishermen and seeing what's going on with different hook styles.
I really think that most anglers would try to do the right thing. So I think the state really needs to invest infrastructure money into informative stuff for the anglers. It's like when I go to get my hunting license, I have to take like an 8-hour module on how to be an ethical hunter.
Yeah.
8 hours with a test before I can get my Massachusetts state hunting permit.
I did it when I was like 14. It was like a whole weekend.
Yeah. But now online, it's an 8-hour online module.
Yeah.
Maybe they can invest, I don't know, couple of grand here or there. They got all this money coming
it wouldn't take much to make an hour-long video.
Like all these fishing fund money that's being raised by the recreational saltwater permits. Maybe they could take some of that, right? Spend it on like how to properly release a striped bass from a boat, how to do it from shore, how to do it from boat, how to properly use a hook, how to change your hooks out to single inline hooks, like basic stuff that people would.
You know what they should do?
I do think
they should subcontract to guys like us to do that.
And
push it out, because I'm sure. Because I know they do definitely have some instructional videos like that, but it's just like how many people out there that are just getting their shit are going to like Mass DMF,
like with the hunting thing.
Yeah,
you have to complete the module. It is a privilege to get a hunting permit.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that. It's more of a privilege. So when you're a fisherman, you think it's your right. You know what I mean? So
yeah, true.
it's one of those things. Being an ethical hunter, it's a whole thing about being an ethical hunter. We should be ethical anglers as well, right? So I think before you get your saltwater permit every year, you should go through an hour and a half online tutorial on how to get your permit, right? Right? How to do even half an hour.
So something a little stronger than the
click on a few,
the cute HMS,
like the
shark.
HMS for the shark tank.
The HMS shark thing's a fucking joke. I know. It really is.
Like, are we really going to do this right now?
Let's call it what it is. It's a joke, dude. It's a joke, right? Have something put together. Have the curriculum changed every year. So, you know what I mean? You can't just like blast through a test or something like that, you know. Put the effort in. I think if they did that and explained to people, you know, the status of the stocks and the fishery, because people just are ignorant. A lot of people just don't know.
A lot of people just don't know.
And I think if the state did that, I think you'd see, you see release mortality get better. I think you just see regular mortality get better because people would be releasing more. I think it would make for a healthier fishery. I think that's the first step in the right direction from the recreational side, because the recreational side has a lot of accountability.
So
right?
do you think
I'm not just saying it's the commercial fisherman. I'm saying the recreational side has its own accountability. The charter side also has its own accountability. We should be stewards of the water, and too many charter captains aren't. Mm-hmm. You know.
Do you think you would sell as many trips if you could only keep one fish per boat per trip?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I honestly, I wish they were all a game fish. I wish they just did it. Mm-hmm. You know, people would still go out, and then the fishery would be really good. You know, I would love to go out and just have every day be fucking lights out.
Lights out.
Lights out. My customers would love it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone walks onto my boat and wants to fill their cooler with stripers, dude. You know what I mean?
Listen.
Like, I just don't think that's the vibe.
We'll go haddock fishing in the spring if you want.
That's a cool little trip.
Go fill your cooler.
Yeah.
Right? Fill your freezer. Get some nice fillets. We'll go haddock fishing. Then we can smash 50-pound striped bass all day.
Yeah.
In the summertime.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's I think that's going to be the way. I think that would be the best way to go. I would love to see them manage the recreational fishery a little better, and then keep moving this slot up higher. So you don't want to keep the slot on top of your rebuilding stock. We need the 2015 stock to rebuild the fishery.
That stock really needs to get the pressure off.
Stop
of it.
parking this slot right on top of it. You know what I mean? It's the worst call that they can possibly make. You know, they didn't want to go higher. You know, the real reason why they didn't want to go higher is because they didn't want to put, they couldn't fill the commercial quota. So they didn't want the commercial guys competing with the rec guys for the same fish.
Yeah, that's why the line was drawn at 35.
That's why the line was drawn at 35.
And there's no overlap.
They don't want to tell you. They don't want to tell you that.
Why.
But when they looked at when you looked at the 3 or 4 options, right? Scientifically, that was the least of the best options was the one that they took, the 28 to 35 slot.
I can't remember. What were the
36
other two?
36 plus was the best one for the fishery.
Yeah.
But 36 plus would have put them on top of the commercial side of things.
Yeah.
So again, if you're going to manage the fishery, just manage it fairly. That's all. I think that's all anyone really wants. You know what I mean? I'm not saying end commercial fishing. I'm just saying just manage the fishery so that there's fish for everyone, and then
For a long time. Dude, we're both young guns in this game, right? I'm 35. How old are you?
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, how old are you?
So, me, 39.
Yeah, we got 20, 30 more years of doing this shit, you know?
Hopefully, as long as my body holds out, you know, I'm going to go as long as I can.
Maybe during the winter, you and I should get a gym membership together.
I've been going, dude.
Have you?
Yeah.
You look good. I gotta go.
I'm fucking out of shape, but I'm still going.
Too busy fucking dealing with broken cameras the past month and trying to get this thing going.
So, anyways.
All right, well, let's end on a high note before we go here.
Yep.
So, what was good about the fishery this year?
Dude.
New tricks of the trade, anything cool? Like, you guys, when we saw your your presentation the other day at Rhode Island. It's so funny how just the type of gear you're using because of how you're fishing really big plugs and you're using basically small tuna gear on those fish. It was just really interesting and different than guys up here kind of fish like that.
I'm always like a gear junkie.
Yeah.
We're using a lot of like jig and pop stuff.
Yeah.
You know, some higher end rods. Like I said, I'm getting bunch of newer rods made this year. I'm always tinkering, trying to improve. Any good business is going to try to improve what they do. You know what I mean? And try to have the edge. Mm-hmm. If you can have an edge over somebody else, you know, all the better. You know, new things. I'm actually excited this year about trying to. I want to try some spots I haven't fished in like 5 or 6 years.
Dude, I did that last year. It was great.
So what winds up, you know, I think with so much pressure lately, I think these fish are starting to revert to different patterns.
I agree.
And I saw some patterns starting to like go into like older patterns, like patterns I haven't seen in a while. Mm-hmm. So next year, I was talking with Anthony Forty. We had this big conversation about like, hey, I'm going to try this next year. I'm going to try that next year. I remember doing this, and like I haven't done certain things in a while, and I want to go check them out.
Back to the Future, the way last year was kind of shaken out, I started fishing a little bit like I did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And was greatly rewarded.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, so I suggest you give it a shot.
Yeah, last year, it's weird because every year is different.
Every year is different.
Routine.
Every year is different.
I thought I was going to spend 2022 like 2021 was crazy, man. 2021 was the best year I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I mean,
same here. 2021 was great.
I was just parked on top of a biomass of fish. Now, I've seen this biomass decline 4 years in a row. The numbers of fish in these schools have gotten progressively less and less and less. But we were so freaking dialed in, man. It was nutty. It was nutty. We were so dialed in. It was so good. This year was different. A lot of the fish weren't sitting in mega biomasses. They were spread out all over the place. I had a phenomenal year, but it was different than last year. It was different than 2021. 2022 was very different. It was a very easy year for the average fisherman that came out in Boston. You could hammer slots, and there was big fish mixed in with the slots, and all you had to do was stick with the pogie schools.
Yeah,
and it was just an easy fishery for people. I wouldn't fish in the madness. There was 200-300 boats on a Saturday. It was a floating flotilla. The Coast Guard was booting people out of the way just to get tankers into the harbor. It was madness. And this was every day for 3 months.
Yeah.
It was absolute berserk. I tried my best not to deal with that every day. And I went and I found fish elsewhere. And I found fish everywhere. No matter where I went, I found fish. So the last few years prior to that, I would find these mega schools of like 5,000 fish, 3,000 fish, and multiple mega schools, and that's kind of what we have been working with years prior. I think these mega schools, due to constant pressure, both charter wise, commercially, recreationally, I think these schools like fragmented this year, and because of the bait was a little bit more spread out this year too, because of a certain number of reasons. Everything had fragmented, and there was just fish. I couldn't find these mega schools anymore, but I could find fish in every fishy area that they were supposed to be in, and enough to make really good fishing and still catch sizable fish and do the thing that would, Get Tight sport fishing is known for is getting trophy striped bass, But and hopefully this year, I love change. I love that things are different every season, and patenting is different. It's one of the reasons that sets me out from everybody else is I'm able to adapt. I'm not going to be the guy that sits out there and does the same. The definition of madness. They go out there and they catch no fish and they do the same thing every day, and they're like, hey, but this, we caught a fish here before.
Yeah, back in 1997.
Yeah.
We caught a monster.
And you see so much of that, man. You see so much of that, and no one's really willing to put the work in and find them.
That's my favorite part about it, dude. That's what keeps it. For somebody, guys like you and I that are doing 200 days a year.
I love fucking tournament fishing, and we've been fortunate. We've won a couple major tournaments down in my area, and I have a crew of guys. I call them the Cobras. They fish with me 7-8 times a year. They know the boat. They fish fucking hard. They were the guys I took down and sail fished down in Miami, and these guys fish super hard. But on tournament days, it's like, it's not really the pressure's as high as it can possibly be. But at the same time, I'm not on a charter.
Yeah.
And I can go full fucking throttle.
Yeah.
And we were able to fish. I mean, we made about I would say a 12-mile decision last year to like, we fished the first day with decent tournament results. I believe we were still in first place on the first.
Was it a bass tournament?
It was a bass tournament.
What do they do? Like by length?
By length, top 3 fish length. Okay, aggregate. You video your top 3 fish landed, and I love the last couple of years. Where the tournament lands date wise, it's always like the toughest week of the year, and that's where I shine.
Where you shine.
That's where I shine,
that's where,
baby.
Yeah.
That's where Tom Brady comes in. Fourth quarter. You know what I mean? First day we had minimal results. In my personal opinion, even though we were probably still in first place, came out second day. Had some minimal intel about where some fish where some bait had moved, where some fish might be. Made a judgment call. Got the boys to hold on. Ran full bore to an area. Went in searching with the side imaging into a grid pattern. I rolled over these fish, dude. It was like when you watch the Call of Duty memes of like on Instagram.
No, I don't. But I bet it's off. I know the feeling about getting fish on side scan though.
It was on, dude. It was on. I knew it was happening. So the same thing happened last year. I found in 2000 we won it 2021, 2022 this particular tournament. And I both times I was able to find a mega herd.
Yeah.
Like we were over thousands of fish again. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like I remember the first year I found the mega herd. I found it, dropped a waypoint, and I redlined the engines the entire way back to Boston Harbor.
Yeah.
Right? And we went from trying to get biggest bluefish for the day, which we had already got, to full bore back to Boston to black the live well out with pogies.
Yeah.
Like as much bait as we could. I rolled into a fleet of 300 boats, full steam. I must have been sucking up people's lines of my props. I stopped in the middle of them. I had 4 guys with rods snagging things, like snagging baits as fast as we could go, and blacking the live well, fucking frantic. And and I'm usually like the first one that's very tame when it comes into a fleet of boats, fucking throttled up, throttled up. If someone was going to follow me, they had to be as fast as I could run. You know what I mean? And got back up to the spot, which happened to be a ways away. You know what I mean? And I didn't want to dick around trying to find baits over there. Got back up to the spot and crushed it.
Yeah.
Crushed it. And that was the first year. And then second year, kind of same thing, but geographically we were 20 miles away.
Yeah.
The second year. And got to where we should. First year was north. Second year, was a different zone. Still within the boundary lines of the tournament, and got in there. I don't really fish this area much. kicked the side imaging on, looked at some structure on the shoreline where I would find, you know, these larger schools, and dude, I rolled over the side imaging. I'm like, it's happening, dude.
Yeah.
It's happening. And we ran out of baits within 2 hours. Had a scramble, ran back, got more bait, ran back. We went through three live wells, and we just kept upgrading size every time we would get, you know, an inch bigger, half an inch bigger. We're just upgrading size, and I'm calling these fish in to the tournament director every time, and we're videoing every one of them, and the tournament director's like, dude, no one's calling shit in. He's like you're okay. And I'm like, I couldn't turn the switch off, dude. I fished till the very end. You know what I mean?
How many days like that do you ever get? You know,
I'm in the fucking. But I got binoculars out, and I'm like, anytime I see another boat, I'm fucking screwing off because I don't want anyone that's in the tournament to, God forbid, find these fish. Mm-hmm. And I was like a complete maniac that day. You know.
Hope the payout was good for all the gas making those 3 trips back and forth.
It was okay.
Yeah.
It was more of a bragging right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's nothing better than that sweet taste of victory.
You know.
Sweet nectar of victory. Matt Slater.
It's one of those things. I hate defeat, dude. I
love it.
I would have been pretty polluted.
Yeah.
I would have been pretty polluted.
It's awesome.
But, you know.
Oh, man, that was a great story. Great way to end it, man.
Yeah,
I really appreciate you coming up here tonight.
Yeah,
and,
I appreciate you guys having me. And
yeah, man, that was awesome.
Looking forward to
the Plum Island Surfcast.
Plum Island Surfcast is next week, and then in 2 weeks from then, I think we're going to try to go fishing for some haddock.